Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Durags here. Woo! It has been some time, hasn't it? It has been a bit of a bit of a time. My chat, I've got this distracting chat over here. Let me pull it over here. All right, so what was the name of that music? That is original music. I created the original version, and then somebody did a remix, and they said I could use it in my videos. So it doesn't have an official name. I guess the official name is Shady Durag's theme music. Hey, hello, how do you do, everyone? I just feel a little red because it has been such a while since I've done. Well, for me, it feels like it's been a while. For everyone else, it probably feels like it hasn't been. The audio's weak. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm about to get to a bit of an explanation really quick. So for the past 2 weeks, I was moving, and I made a post about this on the channel that I was moving, and I was going to try not to let this affect the channel's upload schedule. That didn't happen. That did not happen. The reason it didn't happen was because just so much scheduling things went wrong, and basically I didn't have access to my editing and recording stuff, and right now I still don't have proper access to it. Like, let me guess, the mic sounds horrible. The mic sounds horrible. Yeah, see, I'm seeing people say use this mic, it probably sounds really good. This is not hooked up. This mic can't be hooked up. I don't have the proper components to it. This is yeah, everybody's complaining about the audio. Um, Basically, my microphone is lost. I know it's here. I'm in a new location. I know it's here. I saw it, but it's lost. So, if everybody seems to be complaining, you guys want to postpone the stream because I spent like I saw it when I first moved in, but I spent like 2 hours looking for it, and I was like, well, I don't know how the microphone is going to sound. I can't, again, this mic's not hooked up. I don't have the components to hook it up. It's not going to hook up to my computer. So I was setting up this mic for future videos, but yeah. Another thing is, I'm getting over a flu. That happened, so I didn't have time to do what I wanted to. And it's also very dusty in here from all the unpacking, so my sinuses are not as good as they could be. So yeah, I do apologize for the audio. I saw the mic earlier, and when I was like, hey, I'll live stream later today, I thought it was going to be right there where I left it, but it got misplaced. So now I have to use my laptop's mic, and the laptop mic is horrible. All right, so it looks like everybody's saying just ignore the microphone situation just to keep going. So I will do that as per your guys' request. Another thing, I look a hot mess right now, and as you can tell, something else got lost while I was moving. I can't find them. I'm so mad. I can't find them. Anyway, you guys don't want to talk about me just now. Well, some of you probably do. You guys want to talk about Bojack Horseman. And I'm about to switch shares because the share is annoying me. Bojack Horseman. Hold on. I'm going to get a different chair. Man, Shady, you're so professional with your setup, man. Your lovely microphone and your squeaky chair that you have. Man, I just love a Shady Durag's live stream. He never has any problems whatsoever. Okay, this chair's not squeaking, so. All right, so Bojack. Am I still in frame? Oh yeah, the stream's just behind. Let me turn that off. All right, so Bojack Horseman season 6. It is here. I have seen part 1. How many else have seen part one? How we feeling about it? Let's get some general opinions about it. How we feeling about it? Yeah, to everybody who's just coming in, I'm aware of the microphone situation. My current microphone is lost. This one is not plugged in, so I'm using a really, really horrible microphone right now. Uh, and there's nothing I can do about it except like pause the stream and try to look for it. But I spent like an hour or two looking for it. My stuff is still not completely unpacked. All right, people are saying pretty good, awesome. Some saying they loved it, best season so far. The ending was wild and made me hyperventilate. Don't ruin it, Shady. It was perfect. Better than season 5. The season part 1 was amazing. I cried genuinely at least 4 times. I did, and my favorite episode is oh geez, everybody is loving this season. It was very focused, seems short, but it's half a season, so what can we do? I want to know your thoughts about Diane. Okay, we'll get to that. Just seeing everybody's genuine consensus right quick, or general consensus. I like part 1, but I would probably call it my least favorite season so far besides season 1. Oh, being different, Kirby. Kirby over yonder. I like part 1 better than season 5, but I hated the reporter character. Why did they act like they were in the 1920s? Sits at the top for me between season 4 and season 5. Really strong start to the first half. Definitely a strong dynamic change. Cried at that crossover episode with PB. Okay, so it seems like most of y'all enjoyed it like highly. Like a lot of y'all are saying it's the best season so far. A lot of you are saying if it's not the best season, it's up there with your favorite seasons. So for me personally, I am highly, highly, highly enjoying this season. Highly. I came into episode 1 not knowing what to expect because everybody knows I was not the biggest fan of season 5. And I was like, I'm not sure where it's going to go. If it keeps going on this route, I'm not even sure if I can stay hyped about it. So episode 1 hit. And all of episode 1, to me, it felt like it hit the right notes. And I'll get into the details later. But it really felt like it hit the right notes as it started. And I was like, is it going to keep going this way? And then episode 2 hit. And again, it continued to hit the right spot, excuse me. And it was just, to me, a genuine episode. I have a bunch of notes here because last time I did this off the cuff, you guys were like, Shady, take notes, you stupid lunatic. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll listen to my audience because their opinions are sometimes correct. But yeah, I do have a couple of notes here. I'm going to go by episode on the notes I have. And we'll just talk about it episode by episode. Starting with episode 1. So let's start there. Well, actually, no. Let's go back. Let's go back to season 5. Ugh, this camera being... My tripod broke, guys. A month before I moved, my tripod broke. So my camera is sitting on this really unbalanced thing right now. Anyway, let's go back to season 5. So season 5 left off. Pretty much everybody was in a bad place, with the exception of Princess Carolyn. Princess Carolyn had just adopted her new daughter, so she was in a good place. Todd technically was in a bad place because he just got fired, but that's whatever for Todd. Peanut Butter had confessed to Pickles, but he was secretly cheating on her with Diane, who Diane was dealing with Bojack, who Bojack was dealing with his addiction. So all that was happening, and like I said, I didn't like what was going on. To me, it felt like it repeated a lot of stuff, and it unnecessarily repeated a bunch of stuff. I felt like there were a lot of storytelling flaws. I did my top 10 things that season 5 did wrong. If you want to go in there and yell at me about how wrong I am, that video's on the channel somewhere. So part 1. Then we got the new trailer, the season 6 trailer, which I thought was much better than the season 5 trailer. The season 5 trailer to me was just repetitive and very vague and not in a good way. So a lot of that stuff to me can be good, but it wasn't a good way. The season 6 trailer was a lot more peppy, and it felt like the Bojack atmosphere that we've come to know, where it's like there's going to be some comedy, but there's also going to be some seriousness. So, episode 1. Episode 1 starts, and it starts with Bojack in rehab. It starts right where we left off, and that was interesting because last season, a couple seasons before, like it doesn't always start where you think it's going to start. Like with season 4, it didn't start with Bojack on his trip like we thought it would. It went back to the other characters and dealt with them, and we didn't even see Bojack until season 2. So with episode 1, it starts with Bojack in rehab, and he's going through rehab, but he's not really going through rehab. He is just enduring it per se, and he doesn't have the best mindset. And you can tell he's not really into improving. He's just doing this because this is what he's supposed to do. So, how did we all feel about episode 1? In case you forgot, episode 1, the general summary is that Bojack is in rehab. He's going through it, but he's not really feeling the change process. In fact, he a lot of times lashes out at his therapist and at other people, saying that nobody's really being honest with themselves. Therapy probably isn't actually working. It's probably just a system that plays on these people's plays on their toxications and brings in money for themselves. Some people say, let's see, Cody Lee, really great start episode, great start to the season. I liked it a lot. I'm going to tell you what hit me. First of all, I really love the phone scene, which I've got as my background here. Hold on, let me make it go away. Yeah. So I really love the phone scene. Even though it was technically kind of pointless, it was just reintroducing all the characters. Like, as soon as he pulled up the phone and Diane came on the screen, I was like, oh, they're going to do this with all the characters, aren't they? But I just thought that was a lot of fun. But in the end, when he saw, I forget her name, but he saw that girl who she was making all these excuses for herself. And Bojack was telling her, he was like, yeah, it's everybody else's fault. Yeah, you keep making excuses. But then Bojack himself started making an excuse when he remembered that his dad made him drink, or his dad offered him a drink after his dad caught him in the act with someone. And that made Bojack go on a rage. He wanted to lash out at his parents. And that's what I was talking about before. He needs to go after the source of his problems. And and he started, taking out his anger on her dad as a way to go after the source of his problems with his parents. And her dad shows up, and it turns out her dad is actually a really nice dad. Her dad is actually very caring, and she's just been making up stories about her dad because she wants to blame everyone else for her problems. She wants to blame the fact that she's a bad person on her dad. And Bojack sees her, and he realizes that he can't keep making excuses like she is. She's constantly making these excuses, thinking the rules don't apply to her, and he can't be like that. He's too old to be like, as he says, I'm getting too old to sneak back into places. He's too old for stuff like that. If he wants to change, he has to be real. And he goes back into the place, and before he didn't take a selfie with the guy, and the guy was like, you've never been here before because you would have taken a selfie with me. It was very metaphorical, saying that this is Bojack really starting his 6 weeks, really starting his rehab. Even though he'd already been there for 6 weeks, this was the real start of it. I think Bojack will either go to jail or commit himself, like Secretariat did, jump off the bridge, the ocean. He stops running away, and it consumes him. Her name was Jameson. Okay, yeah, Jameson. Wait, was it Jameson R or Jameson M? Or Jameson F? Episode 1 did a great thing that was calling back to the discussion between Bojack and Diane in Season 5, Episode 10, and show that Sarah Lynn is the only thing that Bojack really cares on that moment. Yes, Sarah Lynn came back a lot in this season, and I was so glad they did that because she's actually she's probably the most important character to the character of Bojack. Like, Sarah Lynn's death is what turned Bojack around, or made him have a realization. And that they actually addressed that I think it was in this episode at the beginning when he's talking to the police, talking to the paramedics about what happened to Sarah Lynn, and he says, "I need to make some changes in my life starting now." And then he immediately goes outside to drink. Best first episode of any season. I love how his opinions on James have completely changed when he realizes it's her baby. He can't project his feelings with his own parents onto her anymore because of that. Yeah, and I absolutely loved how they handled that. Even though he actually had genuinely bad parents, he was still doing the same thing as this person with good parents. He was making excuses. He was finding reasons to lash out at other people instead of making himself better. I made the mistake of watching this new season. Okay, I'm not going to read that. Guys, YouTube is mean. If you say the wrong thing, I don't get treated nicely by YouTube. I think the darkest ending the show can have is everything Bojack ever did comes out in the public, but people still want him to have a career. Nothing happens to him. Oh, we're going to get into that once we get into episode 8. Do you think if Bojack ever got addicted to season 5 would technically be him sorting out his life properly? Well, we're in season 6, so season 5 was weird. I kind of want to stay away from season 5 because it will get me going on a tangent. Season 6, surprise, everyone's invited. Bojack will finally be content with his life. He'll work through most, if not all, of his problems, become a better person, and then he's going to get the cancel culture treatment. Yeah, again, we're going to get into that in episode 8, but the cancel culture thing is coming up. But anyway, seems like everybody in general really appreciated episode 1. So let's move on to episode 2, which was the Princess Carolyn episode where she's dealing with her baby. And again, I apologize for all the sniffing. A, it's dusty in here, and B, I had the flu last week, or a cold or something last week, and still just getting rid of the very last symptoms. So, do you think season 6 is better than season 5, at least so far? Well, like I said, I highly enjoyed season 6. I'm highly enjoying season 6, and I didn't enjoy season 5. So, yeah, I think it is better. But episode 2, this is with where Princess Carolyn is dealing with taking care of her. This is the episode we all knew was coming. We all knew this episode was coming. Princess Carolyn is taking care of her baby, and her job and her baby is really getting to her. And geez Louise, I love how they portrayed motherhood in this episode. Obviously, I'm not a mother, and I'm probably never going to be a mother. But I've seen what other mothers have had to go through, and I have nothing but respect for mothers. They go through so much, and they're not asking for anything in return. They're just asking to take care of their children. And I know people who freaking love being mothers. But anyway, this episode is about Princess Carolyn being a mother and just dealing with all the stress that's coming with it because she needs her job. She feels like she needs to have her job. She loves her job, but her job is high maintenance, and she doesn't. Here, she says this at the end of the episode when she's dealing with it all. She says, "I love my baby, but I don't think I love my baby." And what she was trying to say was, she loves her child, but she doesn't love being a mother. That's the thing. But if you look at her job, she loves being an agent. She can't live a life where she's not an agent. She just freaking loves it. So even though she loves her child, she doesn't love taking care of it. And she feels horribly guilty about that. And they give a nice humanizing message with Vanessa Gecko. I love the character of Vanessa Gecko. She is a bully type character, and if you see my Miraculous reviews, you know how I feel about bully type characters. The whole point of them is that they are evil from the perspective of a certain character, in this case Princess Carolyn, but they're not necessarily evil to everyone else. And they've been doing that properly with Vanessa Gecko, how she's just mean and nasty to Princess Carolyn, but everyone else sees her as this strong woman who can get things done. And Princess Carolyn says this in this episode. We have so much in common. It's fun. They do a nice little joke there, though. It's just like, why did we hate each other for all these years? Vanessa's like, I never hated you. I love that joke. But anyway, I love how this episode was portrayed, and my heart broke when she finally named the baby. Which everyone was like, she should name her Amelia. It's so obvious because, Amelia Earhart was her idol. And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, she should obviously name her Amelia. And she's sitting there holding the baby, and she starts saying, the rhyme thing that she does, because she figured out that the baby loves it when she rhymes and does the tongue twisters and stuff, which shows that she is being a good parent. She's realizing what her child likes, what her child needs, etc. And then she sits there and she says, Ruthie, and my heart broke. I was like, oh, how did I not see that coming? That's such obvious cliche storytelling, and I didn't see it coming. And it was just so sweet and in the moment. Like, my heart broke. And I felt like the manliest tears start building up. Oh, but I really did love that episode. So what are we thinking, guys? Sebastian Christmas. I really disliked this episode. I don't know why, but the visuals and the constant chaos trip didn't connect. It felt like it was very Prince. It wasn't very Princess Carolyn. Well, that's one of the things I loved about the episode. How they were constantly showing more Princess Carolyns in the background, not necessarily the one we were paying attention to get across the idea that so much is going on in her life, and it feels like it's all meshing together at the same time. They're called tongue twisters, misters, and there's a ton of them in the throes of this show. I see what you tried to do there. I love how Gecko seemed genuinely surprised by the notion that PC hated her. Yeah. Freaking Kristen Chenoweth voices Vanessa Gecko. I love Kristen Chenoweth's voice. The animation of that episode was off the chain. Wow, going back to, what is that, early 2000s, off the chain? All the different iterations of PC running around at the same time was really artistic. It was a really artistic concept, and I love that they went with it. Yeah, and then sometimes there's that fine line between artistic and pretentious. I didn't feel it was pretentious. I felt it was very artistic, and they started it out with a beat. Scrumptious. They started it out with a beat, and everything Princess Carolyn was doing was doing to a beat. Put this towards better audio. No more shady tank, JT Drew. Thank you, JT Drew. To everybody who's just coming, yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize about the audio. I just moved. The whole setup isn't ready. My microphone got lost in the move, and this one is not plugged in. I don't have the cords to plug this one in, so I have to use my crappy one. Episode 2 is my favorite of the season. I have a soft spot for PC episodes, and I love that PC struggles are portrayed. I love the way that all the different noises came together. I wonder if Ralph Stilton will come back again. He might. They seem to be bringing a lot of the characters back, which I know some of you are very happy about certain characters. The beat kind of tied into her being on sleepless autopilot. Yeah, that's a good metaphor for it. The good thing about this season is when I had a question... the next episode just addressed it. Okay. Do you think Ralph should reappear? I did last season because I didn't feel like there was proper closure with him. But this season, it feels somewhat unnecessary because we've moved so forward past Princess Carolyn's whole child debacle. So I don't know if he's necessary anymore in regards to story and character. She and Ralph shouldn't have broken up. No, they shouldn't have. It didn't make any sense how they broke up. Like in season 4, her breaking up, it made sense for dramatic purposes. But in season 5, when they saw each other again, there was no reason for them to stay apart. Like they were still attracted to each other. Every episode to me is like, oh, I hate this, but then like 10 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, it's not that bad. Well, I started loving a lot of what happened in episodes. Speaking of hating things, though, episode 3 The episode about Diane. Diane. So episode 3, this is where Diane tries to take down White Whale. So Diane is dealing with her new job, and I was completely wrong with this one. I was saying Diane was going to be taking sponsors, and I realized how wrong I was going to be because when I went and rewatched my predictions for season 6, I saw in the thing it specifically said like necklace and rashes or something like that. I was like, oh, she's not taking sponsors that are bad. She's just exposing people, which is what Diane does. So here's the thing. I kind of want to get on. I kind of want to talk about Diane since this is her episode. The big thing about me on this channel, this whole thing with me and Bojack Horseman started with me disliking Diane and explaining to people why a lot of people didn't like Diane. And a lot of people have stuck with me on that, like, oh, Shady gets it. I'm going to say this. Season 6 made me not hate Diane. Oh, I've dropped frames. I didn't even notice that. I've been dropping frames. The reason why that is, though, is because the main issue I have with Diane, the main issue I had with Diane, I've gone through videos and said, oh, this is my main issue, oh, this is my main issue. No, the latest iteration, okay, the main issue I had with Diane, she knew what made her happy. She knew the things she should do. Or she didn't know what made her happy. She knew the things she should do to pursue a happy life, to discover what would make her happy, and she didn't do it. She knew what she was supposed to do, and constant times she did not do it. That was the main thing I was just intensely not liking about Diane. This season, and I feel like they're doing this because it's all wrapping up, that's no longer the case. She's constantly taking steps and saying to herself, no, you can't do this. You know what you need to do. And a lot of that is because of the support she's getting from Guy, which is her new boyfriend. But I enjoyed seeing that. Like she's going across the country filming with this camera guy. And he says her boss tells her to do a feel-good story, and she says she doesn't want to do a feel-good story, and everything she sees in a negative light. And then her boyfriend, the camera guy, says, we like each other, we got a good thing going on, maybe we can swallow our pride a bit and do this because we've got a good thing. And then she goes ahead and does it, and that was one step. That's the thing right there. That's one step she needed to do, was figure out what makes her happy. And that's a lot that we're going to see, a lot of repeating that with Diane. She's saying, hold on, let me calm down. A lot of times you will hear from Diane, I'm doing this for me. I want to do this. And this episode was the start. So let's get back into this episode because I'm jumping ahead of myself. This episode, Diane starts her cross-country spree about exposing people because she's on live streaming now. Or she's got a web series now, a video web series. And she has to get a feel-good story because her boss doesn't like feeling down all the time. She gets one, and she starts a relationship with her cameraman, whose name is Guy, which I'm guessing they stole that metaphor from the Croods or whatever. But his name is Guy, and he starts like telling her things that we would all like to tell her. Like he'll tell her, not everything is a conspiracy, Diane. Sometimes, one of my favorite lines from this episode is, sometimes a coat is just a coat. But throughout this episode, she's going and she decides to, her company gets bought out by White Whale, who is the Disney of this universe. It's basically, they're owning everything nowadays, and their company gets bought out. Diane decides to do one last piece, and she's going to do it on White Whale. And I'm wondering where they're going to go with it. The focus is not on White Whale, because they wind up dropping that. They wind up saying no matter what Diane does, it's not going to affect him. Instead, they focus on Diane. And what happens is she gets into complications with the camera guy because she doesn't know where they stand. And every complication that happens with the camera guy His name is literally Guy, and I keep calling him Camera Guy. But every complication she gets into with him, she blows up. And at the end, when she's going, like, he tells her, I don't know why you should go back to LA. She says, I live there. He says, yeah, but there's nothing for you there. You could stay here with me. We could be happy. And she, at the end, they get into this big kerfluffle, but at the end, she tells him, you can't be the only happy thing in my life. If I stay here, you'll be the only happy thing. And I'm just pulling my hair. I'm like, Diane, you have no happy things back home, though. Like, you have to take that extra step to make yourself happy. And that's kind of like what Bojack, like, as they're doing this, Bojack is writing letters to her, and I'm wondering why they're doing that. And it kind of syncs up with the lesson she's going to learn by the end of the episode. At the end of the episode, they have a nice calm moment where Diane says, I love making grilled cheeses, and they make me feel happy. And I can make them anywhere. So if I move back with you, that's two things. And I'm like, yes, because that I felt so proud of Diane in that moment. Because what Diane does is she looks for excuses to not be happy. Something happy comes her way, she looks for excuses. This was the first time I could imagine. In the past, I want to say 2 seasons, she's looked for an excuse to be happy. Because that's not really a good enough reason to move back with Guy, but it was an excuse. It was just a little push she needed to say, let's give this a try. And I was just happy because she's finally taking a step to make herself happy. Can someone explain the twist to me of, that person was that character back in season blah blah? I'm not sure what twist you're talking about. I think the gift she didn't want was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It's what made her realize her relationship with PB wouldn't make her happy. Well, I have different things to say about her relationship with PB, but I think at this point, that's completely over and dealt with. Mr. You guys having your own discussion. I really wish Diane and Peanut Butter would get back together. Their marriage survived bigger things and a gift she didn't want. For storytelling purposes, I no longer care about Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter being back together. They have both moved on in different directions, and they're still friends. So, do you think the reason why Bojack visits Diane in the later episodes is because he feels guilty? I think that rehab has shown Bojack how he has negatively affected her. No, I do not think that. We'll get to that episode, but no, I don't think Bojack visited her because he felt guilty. I think he just wanted to travel, like he said, and she was the first person he thought of. I don't think Peanut Butter and Diane should get back together. She's happy with simple things, and Peanut Butter is really sweet and supportive, but he doesn't deal with things as an adult. Again, for storytelling purposes, I don't think it's good for them to get back together. They both moved on. The story has moved on from them being together. And unlike last season where they're like, we still have feelings for each other. This season, no, it's just they're completely apart from each other. So how are we all feeling about this episode? Because while it wasn't my favorite episode, I was just so happy that I could like Diane again. Because I would say I'm content with her. Like, I've just hated Diane for so many seasons. I want to say since season 3, I've started to hate Diane. Season 4 was just a really big one. Season 5 just made it so much worse. And like I said in the last video, Diane was my favorite character in season 1. I don't want to hate this character. Her relationship with Guy is really good, much better than the one with PB. I like how kind he is to her while not tolerating her self-destructive tendencies, acknowledging that they hurt herself and others. I'm glad she finally finds happiness and chills out a little. I rank it a 7.2 out of 10. Solid episode. Diane is finally practicing what she preached to Bojack in season 1. You're responsible for your own happiness. Yes. Yes, and it was such good advice. I miss season 1 Diane. Diane's still not season 1 Diane, but I would say she's much better than season 5 Diane. What do you think of Guy the Bison? I think Guy is, like, they've made him into this regular nice guy, and I think that's fine. It's what Diane needs in her life. She doesn't need any out there personality right now. She needs just somebody who understands that what she's doing to herself is not a good thing, but also not somebody who is really out there like Bojack or Mr. Peanut Butter. I actually enjoyed this episode mainly because of Guy. He's such a good character, and I'd love to see where the episodes take him and Diane. Guy seems like a really good person. I was curious why they didn't show his son. Maybe they just didn't. I thought that was going to come back, but maybe they just didn't have a model for his son, and they're like, we just won't show him. I like the part where Whitewater cheerfully confesses to having killed one of his employees. The voice actor really sold it. Yeah, the voice actor, that's the guy from, I recognize him mainly from King of the Hill as Bill. But he was also in Gravity Falls as Gideon's dad. That was a bit distracting, but I still enjoyed his voice, and I did kind of enjoy how they were playing with the whole, Disney formula, how he's Disney. I think Diane should have empathy like Bojack did, but instead of a showstopper, that it's just season one Diane talking to. Yeah, I did a video like that because I've heard Diane's advice from season one so much, and because I loved it so much, and then every season after she doesn't follow it. I'm like, go back and talk to your younger self, Diane. Just go back. That's when I finally did the video. I was like, fine, if you won't do it, I'll do it. Okay, so that was episode 3. Did I hit all my notes? Another thing, yeah, I almost forgot to say this. I'm glad I wrote notes. Another thing is, Diane has in her mind this idea of absolute happiness. I used to say she wants to be content. It is that she wants to be content, but the reason why she wants to be content is because she always believes there's something around the river bend, something negative around the corner. So when she has that happiness, she's expecting something bad because what she's idolizing in her brain is absolute happiness. And it's like, no, you gotta take some form of happiness for yourself. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Now, do you think Diane's becoming more grateful? That was your biggest rant on Diane. I think she's slowly learning to do that because she always wants to pick a social fight. Yeah, that's kind of just what I just said. The reason why she was so ungrateful before is because she's expecting something negative around the thing. So it's like she gets this big thing that she liked, but she doesn't like big gestures. So all she can see is the negative part of it. All she can see is that Mr. Peanut Butter isn't listening to her. Oh, she gets a coat, but I'm not going to get much use to this coat once I'm back in LA. Oh, you want me to move in with you, but you want to dress me as your girlfriend. She's always got something negative to say because she's a negative person, and she's scared of letting that little happiness in because it's going to come with negativity. And she wants that absolute happiness. That's why she tells Guy, you can't be the only good thing in my life. I need more than that. But if you're looking for the absolute perfect life, you're never going to have it. Everyone, the happiest person on this planet, has problems. Everyone has problems. Now, you have to decide whether or not you're going to accept certain problems with certain happiness. I'm not just saying accept everything that comes your way and just be content with everything. No, you still got to be willing to fight for whatever makes you happy. But you can't, but saying all the time, if you say all the time that I want a perfect life with no problems whatsoever, you're never going to get any happiness. You're just going to stay where you are. Okay, so I gotta move on to episode 4. There's a lot we can talk about because it comes back to Diane, which, we'll probably come back to these topics later. But episode 4 is the surprise wedding with Pickles and Mr. Peanut Butter. The episode actually starts off, like, I already knew Pickles was on social media, but it starts off with her talking to the Pickle Pack. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. As somebody who's on social media, as someone who's talking to my intellectuals right now, talking to you guys, I was like, I feel like I'm being made fun of. But is she a millennial or Gen Z? I feel like she's a millennial. I feel like she's too old to be Gen Z. but I didn't like Pickles last season. She really got on my nerves. But starting her off like that actually made me empathize with her a lot, and I actually liked her a lot more this season. Just see her talking to her audience like that on a social network. I'm like, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror, and I'm seeing something really crazy right now. You think she's Gen Z? I don't know. I feel like she's too old to be Gen Z, but she could be. I feel like she's the age of a millennial, but she has the mindset of a Gen Z. But here I am, a millennial, doing exactly what she does. Talking to a group of people. So, duh, duh, duh. But yeah. So in this episode, Peanut Butter finally tells Pickles that he cheated on her, all the while the other characters are in the background. Um, just trying to sneak out because it's such an awkward moment. Oh my goodness, so this season in general, I think, has been the funniest season. This episode has so many jokes that I just burst out laughing. And I went and I rewatched the entire season again, or the entire part one again. And again, in this episode, there was a joke that I burst out laughing, even though I knew it was coming. And it was the freaking guy who, actually, there were two jokes I laughed twice. But the first one was the guy who Mr. Peanut Butter just met once at a gas station, and Mr. Peanut Butter is yelling about all the problems he has with everybody, and he just says, and then there's that guy I met once at the gas station. Because what does he have to do with anything? Mr. Peanut Butter says, I don't know, but he sucks. Both times I saw that joke, I just burst out laughing. It was so freaking hilarious. And the other one was when they were all hiding from Pickles and they were trying to give her advice to get her to leave. And freaking Todd says, when I get stressed, I take a bath. Oh, I lost it so hard. She says, thanks, T. Shamus. And he says, you're welcome. And then just stares at the camera. Oh, no. Oh, I lost it. But yeah, this season had so many times where I just LOL'd out loud. It was so freaking funny. But in this episode, I'm so glad they had this episode because it's getting past the awkwardness of the whole lying phase of you shouldn't lie to somebody. If you've seen really old videos of mine back when I used to review My Little Pony, I hate that freaking lesson because it's so obvious and so cliche. It's like, oh, you shouldn't lie. And I'm just thinking the whole time, well, no, duh, just tell the truth. And it'll suck, but it'll be much better than what you're about to go through. But throughout this episode, Pickles she's working through her emotions because she's so hurt, but she still loves Mr. Peanut Butter. And that's the thing. Pickles doesn't even know how to react to the situation. And that's why she's talking to people online to kind of sort through her emotions. And it's actually an interesting commentary on Pickles herself because at the end, what winds up happening is Mr. Peanut Butter doesn't know what to do. He's just in such distraught. And Bojack and Diane, through joking means, tell him that he needs to go to her but not speak. He needs to listen. And I didn't know how I felt about that. I'm going to come to that in a second. But he goes to her and he wants to interject. He wants to give his thoughts, but he stops himself. And it allows her to complete her thoughts. And that's why I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it wasn't that he wasn't listening. It was that in the regards of Pickles, it wasn't that he wasn't listening. It was that Pickles herself wasn't sure what she wanted. She needed to complete her thoughts. And she couldn't because Mr. Peanut Butter was constantly there trying to communicate with her. And I can see the importance of that. The only issue is, like, it was weird because my biggest thing with anybody, you should be communicating. You should be communicating more with everybody in your life, especially if you have a relationship with somebody. You should be listening, but you should also be talking. And so I didn't feel they presented that. Like, I don't feel the words that Diane said presented that well, but I think the idea was that Pickles, that's why she talks to people online. It's the same reason why people write in a diary or a journal. They need to figure things out. They need to get those ideas out there. Now, the difference is online, you got other people in your business. So you got other people talking back to you, giving you advice and whatnot. And depending on how you treat it, that could be a good or bad thing. But I'm just realizing now it did really have some interesting commentary about Pickles and millennials and Gen Z about how they communicate with others and how they deal with stuff with others. As somebody who's currently talking to people right now online, I felt Pickles' mindset is a bit too far down that road because you got to understand your relationship with your audience. You got to understand the difference between your audience and your friends, your audience and your family, et cetera, et cetera. You know, your audience is important, and they help you express ideas. They help you get your ideas across to the world. But Pickle, she's like, the audience is there. They are a part of me. This one guy said something when this happened. This one guy said something when that happened. And what she doesn't realize is that different people are coming and going into her life. She kind of has the same thought that Bojack has, which is people will leave you. What did he say? I can't remember the exact quote, but he was basically saying your close friends will come and go. They might not understand you, but your audience will always be there as long as you treat them well. It's kind of a similar thought process to that. I had just a ton of fun with this episode. So what are we thinking right now? I think I hit all my notes. What are we thinking right now in regards to this episode? Love when he was asking for advice, and one of the commenters said she should do a video about this. I related so much to Pickles in this. I was mad because I did not like Pickles last season. She annoyed me, and they made me freaking fall in love with this character because she's on social media so much, and she's like, you know, she's sitting there crying, and somebody's like, low key, you're adorable when you cry. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even do freaking makeup. I don't get comments like that. You know, I'm not a makeup guy. People don't discuss my beauty despite the fact that I'm just the most beautiful person in the world. People don't discuss that. But I felt that so much. When it's like you get a random compliment while you're ranting, and that just distracts you so much. 9 out of 10. I didn't like the solution to the problem with the cheating thing. Well, that's not a good solution. Be heard. I was fine with it because it was supposed to me, it felt like it was supposed to be a stupid solution by stupid characters. They weren't saying this is what you should do in this situation. They were just saying these two dumb people came up with this solution in this situation. I think she just wants to hurt PB to get back at her. Well, they came up with the solution together because they said Pickles didn't know what to do. She was like, I want to forgive you. I just want to move past this. I'm going to turn the audio down a bit because it says I'm peaking. Pickles said, I want to move past this, but I can't just act like nothing happened. Peanut Butter, being the genius that he is, said, well, you should get even. And Pickles said, well, the only way to do that is if I cheat on you. So they kind of came up with this dumb idea together. It's not so much of malice of Peanut Butter. Oh, Shady, how do you do your goatee? I feel like that's a trap. I was about to instantly answer that. I can't tell if you genuinely want to know or if you're making a joke. That's what I'm talking about, man. Somebody just compliments you like that in the comments and you instantly want to go and answer their question. For what's worse, Shady, I think you're low-key prettier when you cry. I'm pretty sure I've cried maybe once on stream when I was talking about something. I don't remember what it was, but it was barely even a cry. It felt like those old Charlie Chaplin movies, Three Stooges, Benny Hill. But I feel like I'm missing some context for that one. I like the shenanigans of other characters in the episode, though. PC hopping around like that is always fun. Yeah, PC hasn't hopped around like a cat, as far as I can remember, since season 1. I love the joke with the fainting goat and do what the sign says. Stay calm, drink. Shady is hot, yes. That's because the AC, I haven't figured it out yet. I think it'd be hilarious if the pig wife reporter character and her partner just never showed. No, they need to show up again. We'll get to them though. But episode 4 might be my favorite episode of the season, just of how fun it was. Again, it just made me burst out laughing so much, and I'm glad they got it over with. This whole freaking lying to her stuff. Like he got all of it out. He's like, yeah, I cheated. Yeah, it was on multiple occasions. Yeah, it was with Diane. Yeah, I didn't tell you until just now, even though it was months ago. Like he got it all out. And that's why I'm like, yeah, I want to move past that. But speaking of which, that brings me to something. It feels like even though, thanks Soft Loaf, is that how you say it? Thanks Soft Loaf. It feels like with this season that season 5 was not meant to be the semi to last season. It feels because a lot of the things that they brought up in season 5 they are quickly getting rid of. Like, oh, Diane, you're gonna be a video person now. One episode of that, not even a full episode, like half an episode, the company gets sold and she's no longer doing that. Oh, Mr. Peanut Butter and Pickles are gonna. I almost called her Bubbles just now. Almost called her Bubbles. Mr. Peanut Butter and Pickles are gonna be going through this tense thing where he's cheated on her. He's lying about it. They quickly address it. They quickly address a lot of the things that were built up. Like even one of the more important things, like with PC and her baby, that was only done in one episode. I thought they were going to spend like the entire season doing that, which they do kind of build up on it throughout the season, just not as much. So while I do say it does feel like season 6 is going to be the last season, it doesn't feel like season 5 was supposed to be the semi last season, the second to last season. It doesn't feel like it was supposed to be that way because it feels like they're just like now that after season 5 was over, now that they were told season 6 was going to be the last one, they're like, okay, we got to get rid of some stuff because we weren't supposed to do that. All right, but moving on to episode 5. This is the episode where Bojack is trying to leave rehab, or he's supposed to leave rehab, but he doesn't want to go. This is also the episode where the whole assistants unionizing thing starts. It goes on to the next episode, and this is also where Mr. Peanut Butter gets canceled somewhat because they found out about what he did to Pickles, and they're just trying to cancel him. I love that Mr. Peanut Butter just doesn't care, and I love his philosophy. He's like, people seem to want to love me, so if I just don't do anything, they will. So with this episode, this this is where they introduce Joey Pogo. Now, I need somebody to tell me, is that a real person? Because I don't know. I've never heard of Joey Pogo. Like, they make this big deal of him from this episode forward. He is, like, everywhere throughout the season. And they just make this big deal that, oh, Joey Pogo. Oh, Joey Pogo, he's a big Gen Z star. That's probably why I don't know him. He's Gen Z. He's a big Gen Z star. He's going to be replacing Bojack. And he comes in, and he's like, yo, I'm Joey Pogo. Can I just do this? And I'm just like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know who he is. No, he's fictional. Okay, so there's not really a Joey. I was just wondering because they were putting so much attention on him. I was just like, who is he supposed to be? Now, here's something. Joey Polo is also somebody who made me feel personally attacked because whenever he talks, he moves his hands. Now, when you're a YouTuber, it's good to do that. I do it all the time. You see, I'm doing it right now. You need to talk and you move your hands so that you're always giving your audience something to look at, keep them engaged. He does it in a freaking cartoon, and it is the most silliest thing I have ever seen. And I'm like, are they trying to say something? Because he just won't stop moving his hands, and I'm like, is this how I look? Is this how I look when I go on camera? Is Joey Pogo trans because they look and sound feminine? I have no idea. Whoever he is, I thought he was a she. Yeah, I thought he was a girl too in the trailer. And then they all started saying maybe he is trans. I don't know. But Joey Pogo is Justin Bieber. I don't know. I think they would give a lot more commentary if he was Justin Bieber. He was basically a young human Mr. Peanut Butter, and they go into that how he's just like Mr. Peanut Butter. He's just young and naive, but he's a Gen Z star, and they introduce him as Bojack's replacement, and he goes in for 10 seconds and then leaves. Yes, that's how you look, Shady. Listen, all right. Hand gestures are amazing. It took me forever to learn how to do them properly, and I still don't know how to do them properly, but I do them all the time. Oh, I'm just making myself laugh now. By the way, that's a tip to anybody trying to become a YouTuber. If you're going to be on camera, it is good to make a lot of hand gestures. Jeez Louise. Okay, so getting back to this episode, it's funny because in my notes on episode 5, the first thing I have on there is, who the crap is Joey Pogo? I don't know. Okay, so uh, this episode, like, it kind of delves into Bojack because Bojack gets his he doesn't want to leave, and so he has this bottle of vodka that's disguised as water, and he has it as a reminder of Sarah Lynn, which it might be of what happens to Sarah Lynn in this season, which we learned that Bojack left alcohol out and Sarah Lynn got into it, and that was one of the first horrible things he did because he put the blame on Sharona, the makeup lady, but that doesn't come into play until next episode, basically. And that goes into this episode is a setup episode. A lot of the stuff in this episode is set up for the next one. But one of the big things that comes into play is that Mr. Peanut Butter, he's just happy being who he is. Princess Carolyn wants better press, so she pushes him in front of a car and says, "Oh no, he's a sad dog," and everybody's like, "Oh, he should be the face of the." My body stopped me from saying it because it didn't want me to get demonetized. But he should be the face of depression. And I was like, oh, geez. Are they actually bringing depression into this? Because the whole thing with depression is, a lot of people have been saying that the characters of Bojack Horseman have had depression. Like, some people said Bojack, some people said Diane, some people said Mr. Peanut Butter. That has been a constant talking point about the show among the fandom. They're actually bringing it in. It's difficult to talk about depression when you're a YouTuber, because if you're not a professional on it, or you don't suffer from it, everyone gets mad at you for even talking about it. It's like, well, if you don't have depression, you don't know what people are going through, so you're not allowed to talk about it at all. Even though I'm talking about the cartoon, it's in. So I was just like, oh, geez, I'm going to have to talk about that forbidden topic, aren't I? But Diane starts showing the cliche signs of depression in this episode. You know, she's typing over and over in her laptop, I am terrible, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, this episode, there's not much to say because it's mainly just a setup episode for other stuff. So how did we feel about this episode? This is when Birthday Dad gets started. This show is just too meta and woke. Oh yeah, that is something I wanted to talk about, how woke it is. How did the therapy horse drink the entire bottle without realizing it was vodka? Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Personally, I don't drink, so I don't know how much alcohol you can take without realizing what's going on. I always see people being like, oh, take shots, so I just imagine you can only drink a little bit at a time, but I don't know. It's a real thing in life. Real people think they have depression when they really don't. I mean, yeah. I'll come to that. I keep saying I'll come back to this stuff because a lot of this stuff, I feel like in the next 2 episodes is when it all like comes together. Bojack getting his therapist drunk when the water bottle hit the crate of the other waters. LOL. On some level, Bojack can't fully be blamed. I would say Bojack can be, well, it's Bojack's fault he initially got his therapist drunk. He didn't do it on purpose, but it was his fault. He threw the vodka into the crate of water, even though he was just trying to throw it away. He should have just thrown it away or poured it down the drain or something. He was careless with his actions. Somebody else paid for it. That was Bojack's fault. Now, what happens after that? We'll get into the next episode. I think the therapy horse knew it was alcohol from the get-go. He just kept drinking it. That's possible. That is possible. Again, I don't know how it works. I don't drink. He said later that drinking at all ruined him anyway, so he might as well finish the bottle. Takes you to give away that it's vodka. I'm a horse, Todd. I weigh 1,200 pounds. It takes a lot to get me. Oh, yeah, he's a horse. Well, I guess since he had drank for a long time, he might have been a lightweight at that point. The therapist says Bojack hurt everyone. Oh, yeah, that's in the next episode. The plot needed the therapist to relapse. Yeah, it did. But I still felt like it was kind of in character for him to do it. He didn't drink on purpose. He didn't relapse on purpose. It just happened to happen. But, I mean, I think there's a bit of suspension of disbelief you can take into account. Like, maybe most people wouldn't drink a whole bottle before realizing what it was. But we can just suspend our disbelief and say he did. Alright, a lot of people are theorizing that he did know. They're saying that he absolutely knew what it was and he just drank it and chose to blame, say, oops. Just like. Okay, but yeah, that's just a transition episode. Next episode, episode 6. This is where things like kind of. This episode. Okay, so the main thing is going on with this episode. Todd and Jorge. This is the Todd episode mainly. Todd and Jorge, they go through this series of adventures because of Todd's kidney and his mom needing a kidney. Princess Carolyn has to deal with the assistants unionized in the last episode. Forgot to mention that. This is where Princess Carolyn deals with the assistants unionizing, and this is also where Bojack gets like re-drunk. Bojack's therapist. Bojack gets re-drunk. No, Bojack's therapist gets re-drunk. What up? So this episode. All right, so I gotta talk about something. It's about Bojack Horseman in general. Bojack Horseman is, I'm very scared of saying this. It was this time last year that it happened, but here's the thing. Bojack Horseman is a very left-leaning show. Now, it can be described as woke. Woke shows a lot of times put their wokeness above everything else, and it's bad entertainment. Bojack Horseman doesn't do that. Bojack Horseman still has good entertainment. It just happens to be woke. That's why it's successful. There are successful woke shows. But if you yourself are not woke, if you don't agree with certain morals, that can hinder your personal enjoyment of the show. This episode had a lot of quote-unquote wokeness to it with Todd and his dad. And that hindered my own personal enjoyment of it because I don't agree with the philosophy where they were teaching in this episode. But I'm not going to say it's a bad episode. For example, in this episode, Todd's stepdad Jorge, who Todd has known since he was a baby apparently, or since he was 5, he comes and he tells Todd that he needs Todd's kidney. But throughout the episode, we see that Todd was always a disappointment to Jorge, and he resents Jorge for it. And Jorge's trying to tell Todd that the reason he was so hard on him was because life is hard on you. But the conclusion winds up being life isn't hard on Todd because Todd isn't actually a Chavez, if you get my meaning. And I'm just like, jeez. It was really annoying because I didn't really agree with a lot of the stuff that's being, stuff that Diane would obviously agree with. But, I don't want to delve into those topics because people get lost in those topics. They're like, you don't agree with me on this? Well, I'm not going to talk about anything else until you do, even though there's way more to the episode. It's like, it was a good joke. Yeah, it was a good joke. I'm not going to lie. It's just that because the show is so leaning in that philosophy, like especially in this season, they've been really heavy in that philosophy. They actually go into in episode 8 where they talk about superhero movies. The show is so lean, it hinders my own personal enjoyment. I'm not going to say it's not funny because I didn't personally enjoy the joke. I'm not going to say it's not entertaining because I didn't personally enjoy the lesson. I'm just saying I have a personal bias. It's the same thing I said last year, and then they deleted my channel. I have a personal bias that stops me from enjoying this episode like other people might who don't have a personal bias. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm just so hesitant because it's the exact same thing I said last year, and then my channel got deleted. But, yeah, the thing about it is, like, in real life, yeah, people do have to work for stuff. So they were kind of putting Jorge in the wrong by saying that he expects Todd to work. This doesn't work in real life, and it also doesn't work for the show. The reason why it doesn't work for the show is because in season 1, they stated Todd was living a lazy life, and it was a very bad life to live. Now they're suddenly changing their minds, saying, "Oh, he's allowed to live that life because he's lucky." Um, no, earlier you were saying that was a bad life to live, that video games had taken over his life, that he had no ambition. Season 1 was saying what Todd needed was motivation. They were saying he needed to motivate himself to get out there and do something, and he could make something of himself. All he needed was somebody to believe in him, and then he would be motivated to do stuff, and he could go out and do stuff. This is like Jorge clearly believed in Todd. He just didn't want Todd to be taking the quote unquote lazy route. He didn't want him to be doing goofy stuff. He wanted him to work hard. Which, when Todd worked on that rock opera in season 1, he was working hard. Todd works hard on certain things. It's just that they fail up. They say it in this episode. He fails upwards. So a lot of times, even though he's not meaning to do certain things, he winds up doing those things. He applies for a job, and instead of getting the janitor job, he winds up being vice president of ad sales. So it's a mixed message that doesn't necessarily work with all the history of the show. I think it's still an enjoyable episode, and I think if you don't have any ties to the morals, you're still going to enjoy it plenty. Like I said, I just want to acknowledge my own biases when it comes to this stuff. You think Jorge should be a tiger to apply a tiger parenting joke? I wouldn't have gotten it. I think they're just saying that he won't struggle in that specific area, that he won't have struggles at all. Well, they're basically saying it was a joke, but they're basically saying, like, in the Bojack universe, and again, it's hard to take it as a joke because they go into this more in the next episode when they're talking about superhero movies. But they're saying that Todd isn't gonna struggle. Todd hasn't been struggling because of him not really being a Chavez. And they even show that, like, when the guard comes back up, he immediately places all the blame on Jorge because Todd has not the same skin color. I hate that I have to dance around these words. It's so dumb. Like, I don't mind talking about these controversial subjects. I just freaking YouTube monitoring everything and being like, "Oh, you said the wrong thing? Well, you don't get monetized. Well, you don't get a channel anymore." Which, by the way, I thought Todd was Hispanic this whole time. I didn't realize ethnically he wasn't. Do you think somebody said that? Yeah, I don't get the tiger parenting joke. Shay, how can't you agree with this lesson? You're not Caucasian, so you had an excuse. Why could you need to work meanwhile every person gets a free pass? That's the thing. Like, I feel like I've gotten to where I am today, which isn't the best place in the universe, but it's still an okay place because of me, because of my work. So I feel like it's kind of a slap in the face when people say, "Well, a person of your origin can't make it no matter how hard they work." When I've seen physical. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that, man. Like, this is supposed to be about Bojack Horseman. And again, I don't mind getting into that. It's just you get too far into it, people would take it so seriously that if you don't agree with them on certain subjects, they will go after you. And freaking YouTube itself takes it too seriously. It was so spot on when he was sober. He can't hide his feelings, so every time he tries, yeah. Other stuff happened in this episode. So let's get to the other stuff. So it didn't sit right with me that Princess Carolyn was siding against the assistants because she was one herself, but they were kind of leading into that hey, she remembered that she used to be one and that she was treated horribly. Because when you go back to Princess Carolyn, she did treat her she treated her assistant bad behind her back. She never treated her like trash. She was just like sending emails like, "Don't promote her because I still want her as my assistant." She never really treated her assistant like trash. Choo. Bojack, yeah, okay, going back to Bojack, he suddenly has horse hatred. Like, that really seemed random. They said, "Oh, it's why you don't hang out with other horses." And I'm like, Princess Carolyn doesn't hang out with other cats. It's not necessarily a retcon, but it feels like the writers were, if this was the writers' intentions, um, if this was the writers' intentions, they didn't show it well, and now they're trying to force it down our throats. Like, you don't like hanging out with other horses. What about my half sister? Yeah, she reminds you of you. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. That was just really weird to me. I never felt Bojack had a thing against other horses just because his family was horses. What? What? Why are you calling me? Listen, I'm listening. Bojack hating horses did seem out of left field. Choo. What else we got? Bojack has horse phobia because whenever he looks at a horse, it reminds him of himself. I mean, yeah, I know that's what the no he had. They didn't even say that in the episode. In the episode, they said he had horse phobia because he hates his parents so much. Um, that there's never been any evidence of that. There's never been any evidence of that until now. Now there also hasn't been evidence against that. So yeah, I'm trying to get to it, Allison. Judah. Judah's back, everybody. Princess Carolyn went and got Judah. Well, she told somebody else to go grab Judah. And I know everybody's super happy. Judah was such a fan favorite. Everybody loved Judah. He was basically the Spock of BoJack Horseman. A complete introvert, completely logical, almost a Mary Sue in some kind of ways. But we all just loved him. I'm glad he's back. I didn't think they would bring him back. I'm glad he's back, though. He's such a fun character. Um, but yeah. So Judah is back, and in the next episode, he goes back to being Princess Carolyn's assistant. So, and I want to reiterate. So going back to Bojack and his therapist, Bojack finds out that even after he gets his therapist sober, his therapist goes back to drinking because now that he's had one, he's having trouble quitting again. Bojack and his therapist finally have a real conversation because so far in therapy, like they were being told just he was trying to be nice to Bojack basically. Bojack decides to check him into rehab, a different rehab, and he tells the rehab that he worked at that he's being checked into another rehab. And the therapist says that Bojack has ruined his life. He didn't know anything about him, yet he felt the need to ruin his life. Now, that part of what he said was all true. Because it was Bojack's fault that he drank the vodka. Now, what happened afterwards was the therapist's own actions. The therapist went and got more. Bojack didn't make him. But it was Bojack who told the place he worked at that he was an alcoholic again. And he was the one who admitted him into the second rehab. Technically speaking, Bojack did ruin that guy's life. Now, afterwards, he says, "That's who you are, Bojack. I cared about you, so you ruined my life." He was just trying to hurt Bojack because, as Bojack's therapist, he knew what Bojack was insecure about. He wasn't saying anything that was true anymore. He was just saying something that he really wanted to hurt Bojack. And he says, "I hope you remember this." Bojack says, "I remember everything. I'm sober now." And we learn in a later episode that Bojack did not take what he said to heart. He says that it's so stupid of him to believe that he makes everybody miserable around him. That's just who he is. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad because it's like people think that things are necessarily going to change just because they get rid of a certain demon in their life. They're not necessarily gonna. It's the source, and the source of Bojack's demon is that he thinks he can't be happy. He got rid of it now. So even though this guy who cared about him, he made his life miserable. What he said was true. He did make his life miserable. He understands that no, that's not who he is. ruining his life was not who he is. And the therapist, the whole thing about this was taking responsibility for yourself, taking responsibility for your own actions. The therapist wasn't doing that. The therapist was constantly blaming Bojack for, well, I shouldn't say constantly. After he realized what happened, he just blamed Bojack for everything Bojack did. He didn't think about any of his own actions or the stuff he did. But it showed real growth, and quite frankly, I didn't care about the therapist anymore. You know, he was a nice guy, but after he started drinking, he became this real jerk. And I guess you could say that was the alcohol, but I just stopped caring about him. So I don't know if that makes me a jerk or whatnot, but your life isn't ruined just because you go to rehab, even if you're working as a therapist for alcoholics. Well, it's because that. In the other place, they looked to him to be an example. He was a struggling alcoholic, and he came out. Now they hear this news. They're like, well, if he can't do it, what chances do I have? If he lived so long without taking a drink, how am I supposed to get through this? Now, obviously, you still can. Just because somebody else failed doesn't mean you're going to fail. Just because your paragon fails, that's the thing. They saw him as, my sinuses are acting up, excuse me. They saw him as a paragon. They saw him as an example. So him falling, he can no longer be that example, at least not for a while now. And he feels like that has ruined him. Like, how is he supposed to be a therapist? And also, he said that his husband was upset about something else that happened with their daughter. We don't know. So we don't know how much admitting to alcoholism affected his life. We don't know how much it has affected his life. And that's what he was trying to tell Bojack, that so many people out there, like, not so many people, that Bojack doesn't know him. He doesn't know what he did by admitting him into it. He's ruined Bojack. Bojack has ruined his life. So I felt that was like probably the biggest moment for Bojack. I think this is also where the Sharona thing comes in. Oh no, that's the next episode where he starts talking about Sharona. So how do we feel about episode 6? Todd and Jorge, Princess Carolyn dealing with the assistants, and Bojack's therapist getting me drunk. How do we feel about that? Because me, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a lot going on. It's just the Todd and Jorge thing just really got on my nerves because I didn't like the messages that were being portrayed. Todd saying it's okay that he coasts through life because he's lucky. The episode saying it's not because he's lucky, it's because his skin color is lighter. Like, all of that stuff I just did not like. But I do like the episode overall as a whole. It's just watching, I've seen the season twice, and both times watching the episode, I just got really mad. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but as someone who's briefly been to rehab, I feel like it just treats people with problems with condescension. He also hated being a horse. For him, that is like a prison. He thought that horses are destined to be miserable. Well, he thought that horsemen were destined to be miserable. Cody Lee, I loved it. Calvin Butchers, some really powerful growth for Bojack. Young Darko, I wish he would have handled the therapist better, maybe telling his rehab if he didn't stay. I don't think Bojack handled it the best. It's not his business to check somebody else in the rehab. It's not his business to tell the person's job they're not good for, like, what's going on with them. That wasn't his business. But at the same time, I think it was best story-wise because the whole point of it was that he's not what's going on around him isn't necessarily going to change. He still might ruin someone's life because of his actions. But that's no excuse to keep thinking that this is just who you are. No. Bad things are going to happen, and you might be the cause of those bad things, but you need to work to change that. You need to keep on the path you stayed on. Thank you for mentioning my comment, but for future reference, my last name is pronounced Boucher. Oh, okay. What I like how this episode is that Todd stands up for himself, Kirby over yonder. It's okay that he's weird and silly. He is happy, and Jorge should be happy for him too. It doesn't have to be proud of Todd in his terms. See, that's the thing. That's what I didn't like about that. Todd wasn't just silly; he was also lazy. And Jorge was telling him, "You need to work hard." I'm silly at times. I'm silly, and I know silly people. And I do get mad when they're like, like the whole thing about, it used to be that you can't make a living off YouTube. You can't make that into a job on social media. That's not real work. I understand that that mentality is out there. But Jorge was trying to say, take certain things seriously. Like as a YouTuber, for example, I don't mind people getting silly. I don't mind people doing silly stuff on YouTube. But like, for example, if monetization happens and people get demonetized all the time, I don't think that's something you can just brush over. And I think just brushing over that will have serious consequences. I think you can be silly throughout your life, even immature at times throughout your life, but you should. There are certain things you should take seriously. And also, Todd was lazy growing up. He was lazy. That's why they kicked him out of the house. And Todd resented him for kicking him out of the house. And if you go back to season 1, he admitted all he did was play video games. Now, if he had became a Let's Player or a professional game player, like that was his goal or something, and his stepdad just didn't like the fact that that was his goal, that'd be one thing. No, he didn't have a goal. He just was doing whatever he felt like because he felt like doing it. Um, and that's why I got so many issues, because Jorge seemed like a really good father figure to me. He seemed like he just wanted Todd to work and to take certain things seriously. But they supported Todd's stance on this, and I didn't like that, especially when it didn't line up. It wasn't just the fact that he was silly; he was also lazy. The Todd Skin stuff wasn't great, but what I like but I like what they did, what his parents, specifically his mom, just know the dilemma with Todd that I can personally relate to. Another thing, Todd is going through this route. I think they're going to make him learn this lesson. If you're in a relationship with somebody where you're waiting for them to contact you to show that they care, guess what? That's a two-way street. That is a two-way street. They're probably waiting for you. It's one of those it's a Dr. Seuss story. I forget what the creature is called, but it's south going and north going, and they both stuck, and they say, "I'm not gonna move. You have to move first, so I can keep going." I mean, if that's the life you want to live, fine, but you got to understand that you're having the exact same mentality as the other person. I understand that toughness because you don't want to move from your moral position. You want to believe that. But if Todd isn't going to reach out to his mom, then it's difficult to feel sympathy for him when his mom doesn't reach out to him. Has anyone noticed the horses in the penultimate episode all resemble Bojack's family members? One of them resembled Saint Honey. It's the part where Bojack says, "Peace be with you." Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to retake a look at that. Do you think the intro has something to do with what Bojack said? I remember everything. I'm sober now, since it shows everything that's happened throughout the show. I wouldn't put it past the show, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think they're just recapping everybody. It's the final season, so it's just good to recap. But it's also very artistically pleasing because it goes throughout Bojack's life, like it's in chronological order, while also going through the season. Like it's in chronological order for the season. So I really like the new intro. I think that Bojack, being the sober one for his therapist, showed him how other people have had to deal with him for decades and how exhausting it is. The new intro is super haunting. I absolutely adore it. True, I love Todd, but yeah, his kind of Magoo-like success, despite his faults, was addressed in earlier episodes. It's man, it's especially powerful in the final season where we see all the important things that he and we have been through. It's super symbolic. Him just reassessing all those moments is like, yeah, that's what it feels like. Him actually thinking about the moments in his life. Okay, so that brings us to episode 7. This is where Bojack actually goes back into life, and his life starts changing. This is also where Diane it's officially acknowledged that Diane is depressed. She's not diagnosed with it per se, but her therapist suggests it, and she admits it openly that she is depressed. One thing I love about this episode, okay, so in this episode, Bojack, he goes to his house, but it reminds him of what a bad person he was, and he also goes throughout the. I completely forgot to talk about this. It was way back in episode 1 where they were going throughout Bojack's history, and we saw all the moments where he allowed himself to drink and lose himself. And it shows that what might have been the very first time was where he just wanted to have a peaceful moment with his mom. He takes a quick drink, and then he allows himself to feel peace while pretending she's caring about him. And that's why I love the first episode so much, because they were going down Bojack's history like that. I completely forgot about that. Okay, anyway, back to this episode, episode 7. Bojack recalls his history with Sharona, who he wound up placing the blame for the Sarah Lynn incident. And throughout this episode, he's traveling. He's basically visiting all the old characters one last time before the finale, before the halfway point finale. And the first person he sees is Todd, which is still in LA. And they just talk, and Todd admits that he low-key admits that he doesn't have a great relationship with his mom. Afterwards, he travels to Chicago to see Diane, and she tells him that Diane's dealing with this thing with her boyfriend where he's telling her she needs to take antidepressants, and she's saying she doesn't want to. They make her not her, is basically what she says. And this is where I'm saying, like, oh, if you don't have depression or you're not a professional on it, people will get mad if you talk about this subject. So all I can say is that this is the cliche when it comes to this subject. Like, they're hitting every cliche note with Diane. She's binge eating. She's looking at stuff. She's refusing to take her medication. She's saying she feels awful all the time, but that's just who she is. Thank you for reading through my comment. You make my day. I really want the relationship between Guy and Diane to work. I don't want Guy to turn out to be a jerk. That son moment was weird. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that moment. I think maybe they just didn't have his model. But anyway, back to Diane. So Bojack visits her, and she doesn't want to admit to him that she's depressed. She doesn't want to admit to her boyfriend that she's depressed. She doesn't want to be on antidepressants because that would be admitting that she's depressed. And her boyfriend, she says some kind of TV show got bad, and she gained weight. And he was trying to reassure her that if that stuff happens, it's still gonna be good. Like, the negatives of that will outweigh the bad. And then Bojack visits her, and he says to her, I wanted to thank you because when I was back in LA, you still believed that I could be a good person. Essentially, kind of saying that she has people who believe that she can be a better person than who she is. And Bojack winds up cleaning her house before he leaves, and he puts on a scarf. It's like every time he visits, I think every time he visits a new place, he puts on something new. I'm not sure about that. He goes and talks to Hollyhock. Hollyhock is having a fight with her friend, and Hollyhock's like the wisest character in the freaking show. Hollyhock says, she tells her friend, you do this thing where you think you can't be forgiven, so you won't even say you're sorry. You need to say it. And then her friend says it, and she immediately forgives her. And Bojack's like, what? Like, that just blows his mind that he can just say he's sorry, because he says he's sorry all the time to certain people, but now he kind of feels like that's pointless, even though he was going through it. But Hollyhock just kind of revealed to him that it can be that simple to forgive someone. And he actually does that with Sharona, because he sees Sharona, the makeup lady, and she wants to talk to him, and she's saying, you don't need to apologize. It happened a long time ago. He's saying, I just need to say it out loud. I'm sorry. And she doesn't say I forgive you, but she forgives him. And it's a lightning atmosphere. He tries to go back to where Hollyhock is so he can be the professor at her school, and he bumps into Mr. Peanut Butter, and Mr. Peanut Butter got Mr. Peanut Butter got his crossover episode. Naveen, that's not cliche. That happens, truly happens. I know, because I have been in different points of depression scale at different times of life. Well, just because something actually happens, it doesn't mean it's not a cliche. They're not mutually exclusive terms. But yeah, Bojack bumps into Mr. Peanut Butter, and they give the crossover episode, and it's just so heartwarming. It's like, I know a lot of people don't like Mr. Peanut Butter, but just to see him after what 6 seasons finally get his crossover episode, it was just so heartwarming. Um, yeah, he also runs into this rabbit that as soon as she spoke, I knew she was going to be an important character, because she had way too interesting of a personality and way too many lines. I was like, well, we're going to see her again. Which it turns out she's probably asexual. She signs up for Todd's app thing because of Bojack's advice. Oh yeah, what about Bojack's visit to Princess Carolyn? Yeah. Yeah, he also visits Princess Carolyn. He gives her his poster, his picture that he has. And there's a very symbolic moment because the poster itself is about narcissism. And they have a funny joke. Narcissism, I thought it was about me. He's giving it away, and it gets torn, kind of symbolizing that Bojack's narcissistic days are over. Um, he's caring about other people now, which is why he's trying to apply to that job. I think he wants to be closer to Hollyhock, or he wants to teach other people stuff. So that happens, and he says, and he winds up getting the job at Hollyhock's school, and it's just looking like an overall nice time for Bojack. And then episode 8 happens. Oh, by the way, in this episode, Judah, I don't know if he arrives in Princess Carolyn's office in a bike suit. She's talking, and the next time we see Judah, he's straightening up his tie in his suit. Did he just get undressed in front of Princess Carolyn, or did he just put that under his suit? It's very possible he just put that in his suit, but I thought the beast just got undressed in front of Princess Carolyn and put on a suit. And in regards to Mr. Peanut Butter admits that he doesn't think he's depressed, and Joey Pogo is just like, well, the people he he says in the brochure that I didn't read but had somebody else read and summarize for me, the people who seem the least depressed are usually the most depressed, and and Peanut Butter says, I seem very happy, and Joey says, me too. So now they both think they might have depression. But it's just an overall feel-good episode, I think. And like I was about to say, but I cut myself off. Somebody on YouTube who also reviewed season 6, they described this as the calm before the storm. Episode 8, yeah, I think they have a good point. Yeah, Polymer Recorder, my microphone is staticky. I don't have my proper mic. I apologize. This one is not plugged up. It is not the one you are listening to right now. My proper mic, it got lost while I was moving. I just moved locations, and my proper mic got lost. So I do apologize for that. Joey Pogo, LOL. Every time I hear that name, I think Joey Pogo is a meme in the making. The audio is like a constant trigger me. Apologies. There's not much I can do about it. And I knew people were waiting for a BoJack Horseman video, so I was like, I can spend the next week unpacking and looking for it. I can get it out. So, yeah, episode 8, which is basically the not BoJack Horseman show, because no BoJack Horseman characters show up in episode 8. But what do we think about episode 7? Before I dive into 8, what did everybody think about episode 7? Oh, right! I almost forgot the scene of Diane meeting Guy at the airport where she's fat and she has a sign that says, I forget the show, but she says, this show was always bad, symbolizing that she took the extra step to take her antidepressants. Yeah, that was a really nice moment. First half is definitely calm before the storm. Bojack's new look, Diane's new look, PB got his crossover, but oh man, the storm is coming. It was my fave. Episode 7 was fun. Episode 7 was my fave. Best episode. You always seem like you keep moving to a new location. Yes, Naveen, that's the thing. When I graduated school back in 2017, I was supposed to move twice. That was the plan. I had to move somewhere for like a month or two and then move to my final location. So much horrible stuff happened since then. I have lived in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different locations since then. In the past 2 years. I've lived in 7 different locations. Like, oh, holy the dongles! I'm gonna be here for a while in this location. I'm finally glad. Like, my YouTube channel started taking off while I was dealing with getting my life back together. So I've been trying to deal with getting YouTube up while getting my life back together. That's why there was so many times where I was like, hey guys, this thing's going on and I can't release a video this week. Wait a second, how old are you? I'm 28. But yeah, this move was supposed to be the final one, and I didn't want to stop making videos, but all my recording and editing equipment got packed up, and then I got sick, and then I didn't have internet for like a week, so like I just stopped making videos for like 2 or 3 weeks, and which sucks because I owe 2 other YouTubers collabs. What about Todd matchup with Mod? I mean, we got to see where that goes, and the old Horsetown. I feel like there was symbolism in the old Horsetown that I kind of missed. I was heartbroken but happy when Bojack's gray hair comes out. He's moved on and it's clear now that he's finally growing up. Fame kept him static, but he's better now. Yeah, he's no longer trapped in his 20s, which he was trapped for so long. That's what the gray hair symbolizes. He's done being Bojack Horseman, star of horsing around. He's done being that 20-something-year-old. He's trying to, like he said, he's getting too old to do certain stuff now. But overall, I think it was just a nice, calm episode, nice, wholesome. My favorite part is seeing Mr. Peanut Butter get his crossover episode. That was just delightful. Diane was arguably the better part, but I just enjoyed the peanut butter part more. This is why I say I like Diane this season. I don't like her, but I don't hate her. She is actually taking the steps she needs to take to be happy. Okay, so now we talk about the final one. Episode 8, like I said, the not Bojack Horseman show, because none of the main characters appear in this episode. So there's just a bunch of stuff going around, which is clearly setting up for the ending of the show. First off, you got pigs and this pig and Mr. Banks. I freaking love these two. They talk like they're from the 1920s, and they're constantly just going like it's not scripted. Like it's just so natural for them. The pig gets so many zingers. I freaking love her character. Her lines are so clever. The writing for both of them is so clever. Like, especially the pig though. Like 2 lines I remember. She says you can't end a sentence without ending on a prepositional phrase, and she says, I don't know what you're talking about. She says they have libraries that are filled with things that you don't know. In fact, they're called libraries. Man, that was good. And then the other part where she says, we have a who, a what, and the guy just says, we just need a when, where, and why, and we have a story. And she says, good, you're where I am an hour ago. We'll reconvene in an hour where you'll be where I am now. Man, the delivery on that was so amazing. This kid, she talks so fantastically in this accent. I freaking love it. There was a Margot Martindale thing, which I don't really care for the Margot Martindale subplot. I mean, it keeps going as part of the show. Gina returns. Gina Castor returns. And we see she's dealing with what I talked about in my video about Gina. She has aftermath thoughts about what happened because she never got full closure. she never addressed what happened fully. And it's coming out in her, and it's turning her into a diva. Like, from everybody else's perspective, she's just being a unprofessional diva because she's so good at acting. Like, she keeps saying, I'm the top of the listing, I need to be treated better, when she's just so concerned that she might have a repeat of what happened with Bojack. I'm forgetting her name. I'm so mad. But the director, the female director, comes back, who Bojack got fired. She comes back, and this again goes back to what I was talking about. I personally don't follow woke philosophy, but her entire character is surrounded by that. She's like, why was it that only my career was ruined, even though I wasn't the only one who broke into the White House set? And they're talking about superheroes, and this actually ticked me off. I'm not gonna lie, this ticked me off because if you see my Miraculous videos, Kelsey Jennings, yeah. This ticked me off because if you see my Miraculous videos, the superhero genre is what I'm passionate about. Like, I love the superhero genre. I don't read comics as much as I used to, and I don't watch the cartoons as much as I used to, but I watched the cartoons so much growing up, and I read so many comics growing up. And they're talking about the female Firefly movie, or the female Firefly is a female. Talking about the Firefly movie, which is a female superhero, and they're like, the twist is she's a female superhero, and I'm just like, how is that a twist? There are female superhero movies. There have been for a long time, and again, I try to stay away from this stuff because it's freaking politics. But when it's a part of the show, and now it's talking about something I care about, superhero genre, I'm starting to get ticked. And they're like, oh yeah, she comes in, she saves the day, everybody loves her, and I'm like, that's a terrible movie. No. That's what they tried to do with freaking Captain Marvel, and that's why everybody hated it. It's because that's not what makes a good superhero movie. That somebody comes in, saves the day, and everybody loves them. No. Kelsey comes back and says she comes in, saves the day, and everybody loves her. That's a horrible movie. I'm like, yeah, Kelsey, you're right. You're absolutely right. And then she pulls up and she says, that might be the way it is for a man. And I'm like, you had me, and then you lost me. One of the best superhero movies of all time is The Dark Knight, where at the end, everybody hates him. That's what makes it so good. He's a hero despite being hated. What are you talking about? Jeez, that ticked me off. That, again, it ticked me off because the superhero genre is something I really care about. It's something I followed for a long time, and it's why I still do Miraculous videos, because I love the superhero genre. I love exploring it. Like, that ticked me off so much for them to say that's how it is for male superheroes. Like, back in early DC, that was how it was for all superheroes, male or female. You came in, you saved the day, everybody loved you. Then Marvel came out with their complex characters, and DC had to shift. And people started realizing that these characters needed to be human. They needed to have flaws. Sometimes they needed people to hate them. Spider-Man's biggest thing for the longest time, was that people hated him. Spider-Man is my all-time favorite fictional character, by the way. People hated him, despite all he tried to do was the right thing. That was all he tried to do. Yet people despised him for being there, for saving the day. The cops hated him. The people oftentimes hated him. J. Jonah Jameson constantly wrote stories about him. It ticks me off. It really does. It really does. So yeah, that's a bit of a tangent. This is what I'm talking about when I said the Todd thing with the whole wokeness. That's present throughout BoJack Horseman as a whole, especially this season. And yeah, let me just calm down. To say that anyone comes in and saves the day and they are loved, that's a bad movie. It doesn't matter what you are. It's a horrible character. It's a Mary Sue, a Gary Stu, whatever you want to call it. And nobody's gonna like that, okay? Nobody's gonna like that. I thought she was just talking about real life, not really about superheroes. It's a metaphor for women in real life. She was comparing it to real life. She was saying the movie was going to be bad because of real life. She was following quote-unquote woke philosophy, saying that things are harder. And I don't want to get into this because this is talking about personal beliefs, but let's talk about it. Let's not be scared of the YouTube system for once. It's just a belief that I have not seen presented with enough evidence. As somebody myself who I'm constantly being told, you have a disadvantage, it's just not something I believe. I believe in taking responsibility for myself. I believe there are people, individuals, and corporations that do act against certain people about stances that they can't control. I think the system, however, is designed to be there. And I know this is going to be annoying because people who don't agree with me, their heart's going to, like, I don't like putting myself on this pedestal like, oh, my opinion is really that important. But when you hear somebody on the internet say an opinion that you think could be damaging, like you really want to come at them. And I know people hearing me say this about this, they're going to feel like I'm throwing out a damaging opinion. That's why I don't like talking about this stuff, because I just like it being my opinion and people agreeing or disagreeing. But people take it to another step. I take it to another step when other people on YouTube say an opinion I disagree with. You know, when PewDiePie says something that I disagree with, I'm like, oh no, he's spreading this idea that's going to really cause damage to someone. And it's just, no, he's just a guy making videos and he just happens to have an opinion. Yeah, you might think, yeah, it probably, maybe it will do damage, but it's just like, that's why I don't like talking about this stuff. Also, because I can get in trouble. I can get in trouble from my YouTube overlords. But I don't like it when the idea that my opinion is that powerful. But there is a realism to society that anybody on the internet, when you have enough followers, your opinion is a little bit more powerful than you would like it to be. But anyway, I just gotta say, I am not a quote unquote woke individual. A lot of that stuff I don't fall into. And when I see it in the show, I'm like, okay, fine. I personally don't like it as much, but I'm not going to say this entertainment is bad because I don't like it. But they applied it to the superhero genre, and that clicked a little something in me because I love the superhero genre, but I don't agree with quote unquote woke left leaning mentality. I don't agree with that stuff. So, so again, I know now that I've come out and said that, there are going to be people who don't like me. There might even be, some cancel culture out there. Hopefully that doesn't happen to me. Because that happened in this show. Like, they introduced cancel culture. As soon as, one of the first comments that happened with Mr. Peanut Butter was that once they found out what he did, they were like, oh, he's so canceled. And people were just treating him like crap because of what he did. It is what it is, though. I'm genuinely sick of hiding this part, like treading so softly. Obviously, you're going to have opinions that people are going to disagree with, and people are going to they're going to want you to say their opinions, and you're going to have thoughts that people are going to think are harmful. And I think that's fine, but the whole, if you say something out of line, you don't deserve to have a career anymore. Like, I can't stand that. And I'm so sick and tired of tiptoeing around it. I've had this dread for the last year that anything I say regarding any type of politics might result in my channel getting deleted again. Because what happened last year was so terrifying. It was so scary, all because I slightly said that I have a bias against this because I don't believe in feminist ideology. And then channel gone. I lost so much progress because of that. My channel has not been, and I've been trying to get my channel back to where it was back then. It hasn't been there since. And I just constantly have this terrified mentality that it's going to happen again. And I'm sick of being scared of it. I'm sick of being scared of it. I'm sick of tiptoeing around these subjects. I just want to say the subjects and move on. Like, you're subscribed to Jar. I kind of thought that already. See, you would think people would think that. You would think that because Jar spent a good amount of time talking against these subjects. And I've been subscribed to Jar since before he had 5,000 subscribers. So you would think people would understand that. But like I said, Bojack Horseman in itself is heavily left-leaning. So naturally, the people who enjoy it will more than likely be left-leaning as well. So when they come on to YouTube, he's somebody who talks about it, but has a different opinion to the whole political aspect of it, they feel hurt, they feel betrayed, and they feel like maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe I just have the wrong opinion on these things. I just don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so hopefully this doesn't lead into something horrible. But I really am just sick and tired of dancing around these subjects. Like the whole episode, Brat Pew Pew. It's such a political episode that I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't because it's political. Like it's heavily an episode people wanted to talk about, but I just didn't because it's political. Um, but yeah, I gotta say with the whole Kelsey thing, I didn't agree with the notion she was talking about, and it ticked me off because she was applying it to the superhero genre, which is something I am personally passionate about. And like I said, Spider-Man is my all-time favorite fictional superhero, and he, throughout most of the comics, was hated by a lot of society. So to say that, oh, superheroes work for guys because they're guys, they can just come in and save the day and it's good. And even applying that outside the superhero genre, saying it to real life when you can't properly display that, I was annoyed. I was very annoyed. And hopefully we can just leave it there. Or if people want to disagree, they can disagree. If people are angry, they can be angry. But I'm just hoping we can keep it like, hey, you have an opinion I disagree with, and I want to passionately tell you that I disagree with it. Hopefully we can leave it there. Because it's fine if people disagree with me. It's a completely different thing when my channel goes dark for 2 months because I had an opinion. Anyway, sorry I went on that tangent. Let's see how many subscribers I have. Yeah, let's move on. I'm honestly sick of this subject. So going back to BoJack Horseman, um, Gina Castleton is dealing with this stuff. Blah blah blah. Hollyhock gets panic attacks like BoJack does when she meets Pete Repeat. As soon as I saw him, I knew it was Pete Repeat. I knew it was Pete Repeat as soon as I saw him. But what will happen when Kelsey gets everyone against Bojack when they fight against the truth? Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone who could fight against Bojack is coming out, is learning information. Like Kelsey, who got fired because of Bojack, but didn't watch Bojack get fired, now has power to expose him. These reporters are looking into the story about Bojack. Hollyhock is about to find out some stuff about what happened with Pete Repeat. Freaking Jeez Louise, the storm is coming. If they don't go with this, I will be shocked. I will be utterly shocked. Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary to get into the abuse of Sarah Lynn's stepfather? We already know about that. I think people would just like a video just for closure. I was going to make a video before season 6 came out about Sarah Lynn's stepfather, but I ran out of time before my stuff got packed. So, and it's interesting how Pete Repeat recalls the situation because he puts all the blame on Bojack. He even says he forced us to drink liquor. That's what Pete Repeat says. It's like he forced it on us. Nobody forced it on them. Bojack took it away, said, this sucks. He gave them a stronger thing and said, that'll be better. But Pete Repeat in his mind, he put all the blame on Bojack. And I can imagine that Penny, in her mind, has probably done the same thing. When he came up to Penny, she said that she was young, so she didn't at the time put all the blame on Bojack. But I can imagine that if somebody else approaches her, she will. I did not realize that Pete, to be honest, so surprised I remember his name. From his point of view, that's how Pete would remember it. Yeah, he does remember it like that. And it's like Bojack said, when there's an adult in the situation, people expect the adult to be the responsible one, as they should. When it's just teens drinking, it's whatever. Pete was traumatized by that moment because, his friend got alcohol poisoning. She almost died, and he was very young. And as a way of coping, his perspective puts it on the person who should have been the most responsible in that situation. That was the only thing about the story he said that was false. Everything he said was true. He just told it in a way that was really scarring for himself. And then he gets to the part about Bojack. He says he forced it on us. That puts everybody else as an innocent. Not he offered it to us. Not he suggested it to us. He forced it on us. No one remembers the other guy as being the good guy. Pete had to do counseling, I'm sure, therapy. There would have they would have taken his side as his story is what they have heard. Yeah. Bojack won't survive the aftermath. I believe he will. I believe he can. But I believe it's going to affect those around him. Everybody has it so good right now. That's why this is the calm before the storm. Everybody has it good. Princess Carolyn is finally at peace with herself and her child. Like, she's taking every third Friday off specifically so she can spend time with her baby. And she has come to love her baby. And love being a mom. She's come to love being a mom. Diane has started taking antidepressants, and she's starting to be happy with herself. Todd finally has somebody dating on the asexual app. And Mr. Peanut Butter, Mr. Peanut Butter, he's pretty much always happy. But things have turned around for him since him lying to Pickles about stuff. Everybody has it really good right now. So the fact that this is happening to Bojack just tells me that it's going to come crashing down on him, and it's going to affect all those around him. And it's just going to bring back that mentality of you make those who care about you suffer, and he's going to have to fight against it. Pete may just be trying to get sympathy from Hollyhock. Well, if he is, I believe him. I believe him. So that's this episode, this season. I want to make sure I hit all my notes. I like that Hollyhock is scared of Bojack's sins. Like, she's scared to drink because, is she scared because of Bojack's sins? She might be scared because of Bojack's sins, but she might also be scared because she herself was roofied. There you go. She was just secretly fed stuff. Bojack has. I said that for some reason, tied bed sheets keeps coming back as a running joke. Like, I don't have any problem with it. I like it, but you think Bojack will make up with Kelsey? It is possible. I know he tried to, but after he tried to apologize to her, from her perspective, he messed up again. It wasn't his fault. It was Princess Carolyn's fault. But from her perspective, he messed up again. I also love how throughout the entire show, Princess Carolyn is true neutral. Like, you see her throughout the season doing all these shady stuff, and as long as it meets her personal interests and morals, like, she's perfectly fine with it. She is freaking letting her baby play as she's scheming against the assistants. I just love that she's that type of character. And the last thing I got here that I haven't said yet is that Sarah Lynn has been dead for 3 seasons, and yet the significance of her character just keeps getting better and better. It kind of reminds me of Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man. In the comics, like, they said this, Gwen Stacy only became interesting after she died. She was basically a Mary Sue in the comics, meant to love Peter, but once she died, she became this very interesting character. Sarah Lynn, she was still interesting before she died, but once she died, she became just that much more interesting because she's the driving plot for Bojack. Do you think Mr. Peanut Butter will actually end up with Pickles? I think it is possible that something will go horribly wrong because Joey Pogo is there, and they are heavily foreshadowing that Joey Pogo, being a young Mr. Peanut Butter, is going to affect Pickles in some way that Mr. Peanut Butter is not going to see coming. I hope Bojack doesn't destroy himself with bed sheets. Oh, he could do that. By the way, I think somebody is going to kill the whale because he sinisterly said, "Become a millionaire and murder me yourself." And I'm just like, why would they have his character say that? That was very weird. Michael Kumo, I want to finally see what Erica looks like. Thank you for the donation, Michael Kumo. Erica, I kind of get Erica confused with the lady who messed up her face. Maybe her name's Janet, I think. Maybe they will show Erica. That would be interesting. Will it end in a comedy or tragedy? I think either way will be legendary. Joey McFriggin Pogo, yeah. How do you think they're going to wrap up the show? It wasn't the creator's idea to cancel the show. It was a guy at Netflix. Yeah, it wasn't his idea, but he was ready for it. He asked, according to the rumor, he asked Netflix to let them know when a season would be their last so they could end it properly. Netflix let them know before season 6, but after season 5. And it feels like it. That's why I said a lot of ideas that came from season 5 just seem to be really wrapped up. So they kind of already did the horse joke if in the title of the first episode. So I don't know if they're gonna finish that joke in the season finale. I know a lot of people want that to happen. Nothing really big happened in part 1, and nothing happened in part 2. Then I think the last 2 seasons suck. Something big is gonna happen in part 2. So it's too much of a calm build up. I was just thinking, what was Shady Directs think about the season? And oh yeah, behold, you were lying. Yeah, okay. So anybody who just came, I'm loving season 6. Also apologize for the mic. Yeah, I just moved and my mic that I use all the time got lost. I'm really mad because I was unpacking. I saw it and I put it somewhere, but I don't know where it is, and all my freaking stuff is everywhere. And this mic is not plugged up. I have to get the cables for it, so I have to use my sucky mic. I am loving season 6. It is funny. Even Diane is better, who I'm constantly complaining about. I think all the characters are learning the lessons they should be learning, pretty much. Which side character you hope makes a comeback? Mine is Wanda. I hope to see Wanda one last time. I hope to see Spana Cobra, I think her name is. Anna Spana Cobra. I hope to see her one last time. I don't need like a big scene, just like a couple lines. I just got here, so sorry if I asked a question you already answered. It happens. Do you feel like part 1 felt sort of forced as a setup for part 2? I don't think it felt forced as a setup. I think it was a setup for part 2. I don't think it felt forced. The only thing I think felt somewhat forced is that it had to drop off so much of season 5 stuff. Like, I was really disappointed with Diane's whole TV career. They might bring that back because they say she's still technically an employee for the whale people. My stomach is making noises. I hope you guys can't hear it. Vincent. Oh yeah, I forgot about Vincent. Vincent, hope to see all 3 of him again in season 6, part 2. Well, we've only seen one of him so far, so we don't know who the other 2 are. Probably Joey Pogo, after him being the perfect person. Pickles may leave Mr. Peanut Butter for him, and he may learn a lesson to grow up or something like that. Yeah, that could very much happen. Like, I knew they were foreshadowing something with Joey Pogo. I just wasn't sure what. Now that you guys are asking the question, yeah, Pickles could very much leave Mr. Peanut Butter for Joey Pogo. Mr. Peanut Butter is like stupidly happy right now, even for him. I really like to see Ralph one last time. We saw Stefani, one of my favorite characters. No, it is Stefani. I said it right. One of my favorite characters for just 2 lines, but nothing of Ralph. Is Joey Pogo male or female? He is currently male, but everybody thought he was a girl when they first saw him. Yeah, he might be trans. Do you think Wanda Price will return in part 2? It is a possibility. I am not sure though. It is difficult to say where it will go. All I think is that Bojack's gonna get Me Too'd. I was expecting this to happen back in season 5. The fact that he's getting Me Too'd. I still have this feeling that Mr. Peanut Butter is going to end up in a similar place that Bojack Horseman was at the beginning of the show. I think everybody's lives are going to go downhill. Everybody is stupidly happy right now. And I think a big part of it, I think the spark is going to be Bojack getting Me Too'd. I think him getting Me Too is going to affect everybody he cares about's life, and their lives are going to go downhill. And I think other parts of their lives will play into effect. Like maybe Mr. Peanut Butter, maybe Pickles is trying to decide between Mr. Peanut Butter and Joey, but because Mr. Peanut Butter stands by Bojack in this Me Too thing, Pickles chooses Joey. Are you going to review every episode like you did for season 5? I mean, I kind of just did that just now. I don't know if I will have the proper time to do it. I'm so behind on videos right now because of the move. I had 2 Agretzko videos I was working on, 2 Tuca and Birdie videos, and 1 Bojack Horseman video. Like I was working on all those before I had to up and move, and the move just completely threw everything off. So I don't. By the time I even can get around to stuff, like the next season will probably be out. Margot getting the lead role for that superhero movie would be funny. Yes, Mr. Observant. That is a fantastic idea. Oh my goodness, yes. That would be amazing. Everybody remember if that happens, Mr. Observant. Oh wait, Karen said it first. Karen Matcherman said it first. Maybe Martindale will be the woman superhero. Okay, all right, Mr. Observer, stop trying to take people's credit. No, I'm just messing. But yeah, remember, Karen Matcherman said it first. That would be an amazing idea. What is with the mic quality? I have just moved. My mic was misplaced while I was unpacking stuff. I spent an hour or 2 looking for it and I couldn't find it, and I really wanted to do a live stream. This mic is not set up. I don't have the cords to set it up, so I had to use the other ugly mic that I have. My apologies for that. Yeah, I know, Mr. Observer, you were just agreeing with him. I saw your comment first, and I was like... How did Bojack even get hired as a professor? Because they were, the semester was starting very soon, and they really needed somebody to start like a meal. Like Bojack had to fly in by next week, so they really needed somebody. Bojack had Princess Carolyn lie about him, and she's really good at her job. And I think the only other candidate was Raven Simone, which probably wasn't even her. The dean was probably lying to Bojack about that. She probably just didn't want. She probably just wanted him to feel like she had other candidates. Shady loses Mike says Bojack loses girlfriend. I was like the rabbit character, who is gonna wind up being more Todd related. I thought I was like, Bojack has a new girlfriend every season. He hasn't had one this season. Or sorry, not a new girlfriend, a new female character who tags along with him every season. You know, season 1 Diane, season 2 Wanda, season 3 Anna, season 4 Hollyhock, season 5 Gina. And he hadn't had one this season. And I was like, is it going to be this rabbit girl? Because they're showing her an awful lot. And then it wound up, no, they were setting her up for a Todd-related thing. I already asked the question, but it's kind of got lost. Why do you think we don't ever learn about Bojack's dad the way we got a whole backstory on his mom? Because I don't think it's necessary. I think the root of Bojack's problems specifically go to his mother. Like, they go to his parents, and then if you go deeper, they go to his mother. So we don't really need to learn about his father all that much, as much as we did his mother. And my stomach is still making noises. It's not because I'm hungry, it's just making weird noises. Is there any significance to how Ruthie is a porcupine, how Princess Carolyn gets pricked by her all the time? Thoughts? I think that just made symbolism for her being a baby much better. Princess Carolyn was constantly struggling with her. There we go. his dad's duel, though, I want to see it. They might show it. They have a tendency to go back in time and show things. I still think it would be kind of cool to learn about butterscotch. I mean, I don't think it's necessary. That's the thing. And if Chekhov's gun is not necessary, why would you show it? I still think Bojack not hooking up with anyone is a sign of growth. I mean, for season 4, he didn't really hook up with anyone. He was with Hollyhock the whole season. Does anyone think that Diane might mess herself at the end of the show? Probably. I don't think it's going to be Diane. If someone does it, I don't think it's going to be Diane. Do you think Bojack will read his dad's book? That would be interesting if he reads at least a line from it. I don't think Bojack cared as much about his dad. He wasn't around. He was just being a stupid person. Where Beatrice literally made Bojack what he is. She having the most grief in place of that. And when you think about what nature wants from a female when it comes to humans, nature wanted male to be the providers and for females to be the carers. So traditionally, the mother is the most loving person in the family, traditionally. So for that's supposed to be the person who loved Bojack the most. She hated him. She hated him. And she let him know that on a daily basis. So it's much more significant in regards to Bojack, who's constantly seeking affection. It's much more significant for him to deal with his mother than it is his father. Who do you think is the most unstable character right now? Because everybody's pretty stable right now. Probably Hollyhock. I'll be honest with you, everybody just got really stable after season 6. That crossover episode joke in this season gave me the biggest smile any show ever. I mean, it was so delightful, the crossover episode. Like, he just got so happy. It gives you that good dog feeling, like when you tell a dog that he's just a good dog and he feels just stupidly happy from the smallest reward. I knew Todd and the rabbit girl were going to meet after she told her mom about a weird idea. I don't remember what the idea was, but it was something like Todd's idea. It was having a house made out of cinnamon ingredients, because she was saying people go to the store because she worked at a Cinnabunny just to get her Cinnabon. And she's like, well, if their house is made of Cinnabons, they could just eat that. And they go to this funny depression thing mirroring the actual of Diane. Maybe it's going to be a turnaround. Possibly. The rehab person in the church, Bojack had to forgive himself. Did you cry? I did like 20 times. No physical tears came out my eyes, but I did feel the sensation of wanting to cry. Because of Pete repeat. In the church, Bojack chose to forgive himself. The church symbolism thing kind of distracted me. Both times I saw it twice, and both times I was just like trying to figure it out. I was like, "What is going on?" I get it. Maybe it was too on the nose because church symbolism tends to be very obvious. It's some of the oldest symbolism we've used in storytelling. So maybe it's just too obvious for me. And when you put something simple in front of a complicated person, it doesn't register in their brain properly. Crossover episode was so good. I was really happy from that. He got his crossover. And Emily comeback would be cool. She's a very cool, good character. Yeah, we haven't seen sciences. Yeah, we haven't seen Bean yet. Bean hasn't been in this season. I hate the characters that acted woke this season. Yeah, I had a long rant about that. If you guys just coming in, I did have a long rant about the wokeness of this show and shows in general. I try to be respectful about it, but when you go back and watch the video, just keep in mind that I did have a moment like that where I just ranted on the wokeness of the show. Do you think the rehab or Dr. Shep will come back in part 2? I don't think so. He might come back as, there's probably going to be like testimonials of horrible things Bojack has done. And he's probably going to be like, oh, Bojack ruined my life and my relationship with my husband and stuff like that. So that's probably how I could see him coming back. Or if somebody specifically trying to get revenge on Bojack because of the whole Me Too thing, he might be a part of it. But other than that, I don't see him coming back too much. The hedgehog dilemma, or sometimes the porcupine dilemma, is a metaphor about the challenge of human intimacy. I thought it was just a challenge about babies in general. Is Mr. Peanut Butter depressed? I don't think so. Some people have seen my "Is Mr. Peanut Butter happy" video, and they have concluded that I was saying he was depressed. And I'm like, that wasn't what I was saying. I was saying he was happy. I was saying that I think, though, simply saying yes or no, he's happy, and just stopping there is a bad thing. There's more to look at beyond whether or not this character is happy, because he hides when he's not happy. And when I say happy, I'm talking about lifestyle, but he is overfilled with joy, with the physical sensation of happiness. Uh, they should do another Christmas special. I think once was enough. You think Bojack will go to trial or jail? Both y'all asked the same question. You just changed the two letters. uh, I think it's possible he will have a trial. I don't think he's going to jail because the whole running theme of the show is that celebrities don't really get punished. They get canceled for a few years, and then they just go back to having their status. Bojack has done a lot of horrible things, um, and oftentimes it doesn't hurt him that much. That's what he said. He said in so many seasons, he never gets punished. He tries, but he never gets punished. So he's never held accountable for any of his actions. I love how PC tried to solve Mr. Peanut Butter's problem by making him a sad meme. Makes me wonder if another meme were planned like that. Most likely, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm being manipulated all the time by everything on the web. I mean, if you look at people like PewDiePie does it on purpose. Like, he's telling you, I'm manipulating you, I'm making you think this thing because I'm such a celebrity. But I can only wonder who are the people doing it behind the scenes. Like, there was that whole controversy with the Joker movie, and people were wondering, like, yo, did this one specific company create controversy around Joker just so the sales would go through the roof? Because they're both owned by Warner Brothers. When has the show ever given us redemption? Season 4? What is the worst thing Bojack has done over the series, in your opinion, Sarah Lynn? Sarah Lynn is not alive anymore. Bojack had a very, very huge hand in that. I think in the end, it isn't important that everyone hates him because of the last episode. Hollyhock forgives him, and that's all he needs. If his I think that would be a good message if his close friends still stand by him. His closest friends, his closest family still stand by him. The show is really good at getting us to sympathize with monsters. And that's the thing. Bojack is supposed to be a monster. That's something I talked about in my Tuca and Birdie video, which, everybody loves. That Bojack is supposed to be a monster, and the point of the show is that we sympathize with these people who go through this stuff. We see it from their side. We don't excuse them. We don't say that it's okay what they did, but we understand why they are who they are, what makes them do what they do. I thought it was very interesting how when Bojack was dealing with the Sharona incident, how it was one of the very first times he had to deal with covering for himself. He did something wrong and he had to cover for himself and make somebody else take the blame, and how uncomfortable he was with it. Whereas we see Bojack now, he does it all the time, and we don't even think much of it. He doesn't think much of it either. It's just he knows if he gets in, he can get in trouble in certain ways, which is weird because I just said celebrities never have to pay for pay the consequences for their actions. Do you think those reporters who act like they're from the 1920s will destroy Bojack's career? I think it's possible. I think they will get the story out. I don't know if they'll actually destroy his career. It might be other people who use the story they get out to destroy his career. I freaking love those two characters, by the way. Is Bojack actually qualified or able to teach drama? I think he's qualified. I just don't think he's a reliable person. So I think he was mainly asking Princess Carolyn to lie about his reliability. I mean, he's an actor who has been in movies and television. I mean, the movie he was in wasn't actually him, but it's an interesting dilemma. Pickles trying to sleep with other men reminded me of Family Guy earlier season when Lois cheated on Peter. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's one of the few episodes of Family Guy I've actually seen. The whole Pickles story distracted me. It was pathetic. Pickles was interesting until like they got to the conclusion, and then it was just it was more seen for comedy. But I think it's going to come back in part two, because like I said, I think the whole Joey Pogo thing is going to have consequences Mr. Peanut Butter didn't think about, because Joey Pogo is a Gen Z. He is on Pickles' level. And Pickles is either a millennial or Gen Z. She's much closer to Joey than she is Mr. Peanut Butter, who's like in his 50s. So she's probably going to have a better connection with him than she is Mr. Peanut Butter. And that's probably going to wind up making her leave Mr. Peanut Butter, especially if Mr. Peanut Butter winds up siding with Bojack in this whole Me Too thing. Does Bojack deserve to go to jail for a death? Because technically Bojack didn't force her and the vodka drugs were hers. The Bojack that actually killed Sarah Lynn was not hers. The Bojack that actually killed Sarah Lynn was Bojack's. You think we'll ever see Henrietta, Hawk's biological mother? Yeah, we haven't seen Henrietta. Huh. I thought they would have showed it to us by now. I don't know, maybe it'll ruin the whole thing with Time's Arrow where her face was scratched out. They might feel it'll ruin the symbolism. I want to see Erica. I do too, but it'll be a nice story if it ends and we say, "Oh, there's this character Erica. You never see her face." Ha ha ha. She's a millennial, 1993. Okay, assuming that date is correct, she is a millennial. The cutoff date for me for millennials is 1995. Like the gray area is between 93 and 95. If you're past 95, you're a Gen Z for me. Because the whole point is that you were in your adolescence. You were into media when the turn of the century came. So that's when like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, those young people, they weren't into media when the turn of the century came. That to me is a millennial. That's why I'm 91, so I definitely consider myself a millennial. I don't think only celebrities get away with awful things. They are the ones that do most publicly, but plenty of awful things happen without justice everywhere. In the show, plenty of non-celebrities. Yeah, that's a good point. Do awful stuff. Yeah, that is a good point, especially lawyers. Do you think? I mean, it's pretty much well known that lawyers do horrible, horrible things, and they just get away with it. Do you think there is any connection between Bojack and the plot of I'm not going to say that. YouTube demonetized. Not sure, but when I wonder if just saying monetize and demonetize gets you monetized or demonetized. Not sure, but when I started watching, people were saying it may have been inspiration for the show. Never seen it, so I don't know. How do you think it will end? I'm not certain at this point. I think the journey is going to be downhill for everybody because they were doing really well at the end of part one. And I think it's possible it could end on a positive or negative. His boyfriend might leave her because of this. I was thinking about Pickles leaving Mr. Peanut Butter, but Cali is Cali, LA is LA. A lot of people say the show is woke. No, California is woke, especially Los Angeles. The writers of these shows, of most shows, California. Well, yeah, but saying that the show is woke does not say that California is not woke. The show is still woke, even if it's woke because of California. Will the show end in a sort of flash forward, seeing how they'll all turn out? I hope not. You're 28. I am indeed 28. You have misspelled your, though. She's a millennial, which is why she's important, I think. We are all responding to a live stream and hating it, right? So, Diane, okay, what about Diane? I am 1995 and I totally consider myself a millennial, but as you said, it's the gray ground. Yeah, 95 is the gray ground because it's, like I said, if you're exposed to media, it depends, and it's also your mindset. Gen Z has a general different mindset than millennials do. Gen Z is more conservative, actually, than millennials. Millennials tend to be more liberal. Well, at least Bojack is atoning for his awfulness, and that may lead to happiness, so I guess nobody really gets away with it. It might lead to happiness. Bojack loses everything, but still manages to be happy in the end, changes his outlook on life, and stops looking for people's gratification. It might have something to do with water. Water has been a really heavy theme in Bojack Horseman, so it might actually end. Because remember how Bojack said he imagined his life ending. And remember, when he said that, he had the hair he has now. Gray hair. Swimming out into the lake, too tired to swim back. Bojack might not go to jail, but can be rejected the teacher job and be hated by Hollyhock. Yes, he can. I came up with this story a long time ago, but I thought Hollyhock was gonna meet Penny. I didn't think she was gonna meet Repeat. I think getting hated by Hollyhock would be the absolute worst thing for him. Yeah. Sorry, you're 28. Apology accepted. Do you think Bojack will die in the end? I think it's possible. Because, like I said, he talked about swimming out into the lake, doing so when he had gray hair. It's possible he's going to do that and then swim back as a symbolic thing as well. Be like, no, I don't want to do this. Every season, someone died. I forget who died in each season. Sarah, the autoerotic guy. The autoerotic guy. That was season 2. Who died in season 1? Excuse me. Who died in season 4? I don't recall someone dying every season. When you start betting pool, shady, any experiences? Given my name, you would think so, but no. Do you think Penny will be a part of part 2? Yes. All of episode freaking 8 was about Penny. If they just drop the Penny thing as a joke, I'm gonna be ticked. What if Mr. Peanut Butter becomes a Bojack? I highly doubt that. If anything, Mr. Peanut Butter would skip straight to Secretariat. I think Bojack is going to be so badly shamed that any effort he actually makes to finally be sorry won't matter because of the massive Penny scar. I know Beatrice died in season 5, but I don't remember anybody dying in season 4. Herb and the Auto guy died in season 2. Sarah Lynn died in season 3. I don't remember anyone in season 4 or season 1. Anyone else absolutely hates Sarah Lynn's mom this season? I don't hate her, but she's clearly fake. Like, Sarah Lynn was saying, as she was calling her, like, nothing her mom did was good for her. If you go back to other flashbacks, Sarah Lynn's mom was constantly not being motherly to her. So I don't hate her, but, I've come with my piece of her horribleness a long time ago. Probably because, even though she wasn't the best mom to Sarah Lynn, Beatrice was still way worse. Oh yeah, Henry Fondle died in season 5. That is true. Sorry, this was already asked, but did you like this more than season 5? Yes, because I hated season 5, and I'm really liking this. I like pretty much every season more than season 5. They tried to be more funny in season 6. I had the feeling, right? I don't know if they tried to be more funny, but I do think it was more funny. I LOL'd a lot this season. And I find Bojack objectively funny, but I don't always LOL. I LOL'd a good many times watching this. They had more of these jokes running gags. Yeah, the whole rope climbing bed sheets thing. Somebody scared me saying they think Bojack will end himself with that joke. Andrew Garfield, didn't he die? No, he fell down a pit, broke all his bones. I miss Charlotte. She was so grounded. Charlotte. Woo! She needs to come back. Yeah, because the whole Penny thing is coming. Jimmy Fallon fell in a hole. I think they lived. Everybody who fell in that hole lived because they spoke at the end. Pete wasn't there for what happened with Penny. Maybe he doesn't know about that part. Yeah, he probably doesn't. But even then, what Pete's thing is supposed to do, if they go down the route I think they're going to go down, what Pete's role is supposed to do is it's supposed to put doubt in Hollyhock. Because Hollyhock already knows Bojack is a horrible person, but hearing this, how he messed up some teenagers' lives, would probably push her down a new hole. She might be willing to forgive Bojack, but then this other news about what he did with Penny comes out of nowhere, and that could push her over the edge. Do you want Flip to come back? No. I don't care for Flip. I like that his plot twist, Todd goes to jail for the murder of Henry Fondle. He should. I liked his Girl Friday bits. The dialogue delivery was spot on. Girl Friday bits. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Do you think Sarah's dad will be confirmed to? No. I think that is their intention, which I was going to make a video about. So spoilers for that video. I do think that is their intention, but I don't think they're going to actually confirm it. I think they're just going to leave that something as ambiguous. Did you like it? There were more that they were more funny. I mean, they put the seriousness of many situations aside to be more funny. That's why I try to say. I think the atmosphere of them being funny was earned. I don't really care whether it's funny or serious. The show can be either, but it needs to be earned. Season 5, the serious tone didn't feel earned to me. That's why I didn't like it. That's why I was like, it should have been more lighthearted, because that's where Season 4 was going. But Season 5 just threw it off a cliff for some reason. Yeah, Zach Braff died by fire and then cannibalism. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, come on, does that count? Zach Braff, does that count? I still don't think what Bojack did was so bad. I think I might be a bad person. I mean, I don't think that makes you a bad person. I think my opinion of what a bad person is someone who has bad intentions and they act on those bad intentions. They know what they're going to do is universally bad, but they do it anyway. That to me is the definition of a bad person. That's why I say my definition of a bad person involves your intentions and your actions. If you do something with good intentions and bad results happen, what you've done is bad, but I don't think that makes you a bad person. If you have bad intentions, but you wind up doing something good, your intentions were bad, but I don't think that makes you a bad person. It's people who have bad intentions and they follow through and those actions come out. In my opinion, that's what a bad person is. That's why I say I don't agree with season 1 nor season 5 Diane, but I believe season 1 Diane believes what she's saying. I don't believe season 5 Diane believes what she's saying. Do you think Penny and Hollyhock are going to meet? Yes. I think Hollyhock and Penny are going to be friends, and they will do the cliche where Bojack keeps trying to avoid Penny and Hollyhock. That's what I predicted that for season 5. I thought season 5 Penny and Hollyhock were going to meet. Diane's dad dies in season. Oh yeah, Diane's dad does die in season 1. But again, does that really count? It's not really a significant character. Tenchi Gina's co-star already dropped the F-bomb. She did? I wasn't paying attention. I completely missed that. And they threw the chummy remains of Derek G. Yeah, I remember that. What's that mic? Yeah, my microphone. I just moved. My microphone is packed up. This microphone is not plugged in. This is actually the mic I had before my Bojack Horseman videos. I was in college when I had this mic, and it went into. I have a mixer too down here. It went into storage. I don't have the wires for this mic. Well, I do have the wires. It's just the wires were for a desktop, and now I mainly work on a laptop. But yeah, I couldn't find my mic. Like I said, I just moved and I couldn't find my mic. Watch I find it, like I trip over it right after this stream is over. So the mic you're listening to is pretty bad. I apologize for that. Shay, do you think once Bojack's skeleton get publicized somehow, the Gina thing is going to resurface too? Yes. Yes, I do. That's why I think they were showing Gina in that. I think all the stuff in episode 8 is going to come at Bojack at once. And it's just going to be dumped onto his life. It's going to affect him, but mainly it's going to affect the people around him. Because the thing his therapist said was people who care about you suffer, and that's what Bojack is most afraid of. He has to deal. Now they're going to make him deal with that fear with this new mindset he supposedly has. Season 4 is the best so far, but gotta wait out season 6. I'm actually liking season 6 more than season 4. I love season 4, but season 4 had Time's Arrow and the old Sugarman place. Those episodes were just really good. His Girl Friday, Cary Grant, and Rosalind Russell. The bits about Paige Sinclair. Watch the movie. I still don't know what you're talking about. Do you think Pete knows about the Penny thing? No. So that Netflix Avatar series is coming out soon. That Netflix Avatar series? Oh. Look, Avatar The Last Airbender was pretty much perfect. It had flaws, but it's like as perfect as you can get a cartoon. Like, I wanted to see an adaptation, and then Shyamalan came, and I didn't want to see an adaptation anymore. Then freaking Korra came, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just leave it alone. I wasn't the biggest fan of Korra. Um, I actually loved season one. The only thing I hated about season one was Korra herself. I hated the character, and then the ending ticked me off. I never finished season three or season four of Korra. I like season five, but I get why people didn't like it. I think it was starting to get a little status quo. Season four was so strong, then five felt like a bit of a backtrack. Yeah, exactly. Season six is making up. Yeah, I feel that too. But I don't know about making up. I think season six is pushing what season five had away. It's like, okay, we're done with that. It's the thing with Diane. It is trying to make up. It is trying to build on what Diane went through with Bojack. But most of the stuff in season five seems forgotten. I'm the Avatar. You gotta deal with it. You think we will get any more stories of the past, maybe about Cracker Jack or something? Possible. It's time to wrap stuff up, though, so. First three episodes could not stand season one. A lot of people don't like the first three episodes of season one. I'm fine with the first two. I actually, I go back and I watch the first two episodes and I actually enjoy them, especially the second episode with, Neil McBeal, the Navy SEAL. I'm perfectly fine. It's freaking prickly muffin I can't stand because I think it ruins the dynamic relationship between Bojack and Sarah Lynn, which at the time it was just trying to get out a simple message of this is what happens to those stars. Hey Shady, do you still hate Diane? I do not hate her as of this moment. Season 6 did a really good job with her, but that's because season 6 is wrapping up the show and it's teaching Diane those lessons she needs to learn. So I don't hate her at this moment. I did hate her before season 6 came out. I started hating Diane season 3. Season 4 sealed the deal. Season 5 made it burn. Season 6, though, it has calmed me down. They portrayed Gina perfectly as far as referencing back to season 5. She's acting exactly like someone who has PTSD would if they were trying to hide it from the people that they were around them. I mean, I always said Gina in season 5 was amazing. The first video I did on season 5 was with Gina. I'm actually very glad they're bringing her back into the thing. I didn't think they would. They usually just drop characters off. I'm very glad they're bringing her back, and I like how they're handling her. You know, she's becoming this drama diva because she doesn't want to address the problem she had. And I even said in my video, I wasn't thinking Gina was going to come back. I was thinking if a real person went through what Gina went through, they would have to deal with aftermath feelings because she didn't have closure. So the fact that they're actually bringing that back and they're actually saying she's still traumatized by this, yeah, I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Everything with Gina in season 5, I was a perfectly good fan of. I love Gina. I love her personality. I love the struggle she was going through about dealing with being jaded and wanting to follow your dreams but not feeling confident enough. I love that she tried to coax Bojack out of the thing and she wound up getting hurt by Bojack just because she cared about him. It all worked. Like everything about Gina was great in season 5, and I love that they're bringing it back. I would bet money that Netflix isn't just going to leave Bojack alone. They're probably going to make something after. I hope a movie like El Camino. Well, Netflix was the one that decided to cancel Bojack. So if they wanted to keep it going. I hate the first and third episodes. It sucks so many people don't give the show a chance because they think it's just another adult anime comedy. Yeah, when I saw it, I didn't want to give it a chance. Because I, for the most part, am not attracted to adult animation in the first place. I prefer Saturday morning type cartoons, like Troll Hunters. When I saw it, I was like, oh, look, another Family Guy. I don't care. It just clicked off. I was like, this looks stupid. The only reason I watched it is because the mysterious Mr. Enter was talking so much about it. He was like, this is a really good show. Everybody should check it out. And I was like, okay, I don't agree with him on everything, but I do respect his opinion on a lot of stuff. So I will give it a shot. I will give the entire season a shot. And the first 3 episodes, I was almost done. Like, the video I made, this is you watching how I'm, really upset at the first 3 episodes. That really was me. And then I watched episode 4. Episode 4, season 1. From then on, I was hooked. It was episode 4. I couldn't wait forever. Every episode, I was like, okay, I really want to see the next one. Every episode until season 5. It wasn't until season 5 that I started feeling like, I don't really like this. And then season 6 came in. Season 6 is doing really well. I caught on pretty quickly, actually, just recognized the voice, I guess. Oh, I think I'm missing some context there. With the exception of how they just bring a character back once, then just dump them. Well, Wanda never came back. Usually, a lot of characters don't come back. It wasn't until season 5 that they started bringing some characters back. Although she doesn't want to be known as Bojack's victim, she's already the first in job offers. Now she has to unball her stress because it's already affecting her performance. It's not even really affecting her performance. Like the guy said, she's great on script. It's just when there's a lot of personal problems she has. She doesn't like being surprised. That's the thing. Whenever they surprise her, she thinks it's going to happen again. Especially with stunts. Like they said, she's not really good with stunts. I thought Bojack was going to be like Family Guy. It would make fun of society. That's why I hate the woke characters. Took me 3 episodes to realize that the show was really good. Do you feel like Pickles is worth having around? Now, yes. I hated her in season 5. I felt she was just a girl Mr. Peanut Butter. And I was like, what's the point of this character other than to say how much Mr. Peanut Butter sucks? Now, how they've fleshed out her character and her social media and how she, like I was talking about earlier, how she feels the need to discover herself through communicating with others. Like she talks to discover things about herself. Now, yeah, I think she's a really good character. I'm actually really enjoying her character. Then after a certain amount of episodes, you realize Bojack Horseman is deep, bruh, so deep. Wounded Fox surprised me too. I was thinking it was Miles because of the way he looked. Oh, you guys are talking about Spider-Man? Bojack is the most rewatchable show I've ever been this fond of. I can rewatch almost any episode and find new stuff I miss. The most rewatchable show for me personally is Avatar: Last Airbender. When I got into Avatar: Last Airbender, what was it? Disney XD. Was it Disney? No, it wasn't Disney XD. It was, of course, it wasn't Disney XD. It was Nicktoons. It was a Nickelodeon network. Nicktoons used to just air it all the time. They would marathon it all the time. And me, at the time, I was in high school and I was on summer break. I would be doing stuff like writing or editing videos or whatnot back when I was in high school, or reading manga. I would just leave it on in the background. I would just listen to it all the time because I loved it as background noise. Avatar: The Last Airbender was definitely the most rewatchable show for me. You can talk about it so detailed already, it's amazing. Does Bojack know about Crackerjack, Honey, or Joseph? I think he does. I agree, Avatar: Last Airbender, I think I watched it like 10 times already. Pickles felt like a total failure character, but now she's quite the character. Very interesting, and I'm excited to see where it goes with her. Yeah, she's turned into a rather fun character. I think they did her situation with Mr. Peanut Butter very well this season. I did not like it in season 5, but I said that how many times now? What if Pickles gets pregnant from the guy she? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Pickles might get pregnant. I did not even think about that. I think the reason I didn't think about that is because of how liberal the show is. And so it's like having a child in this show is never really a problem because every character is left when it comes to that kind of thing, and so nobody's going to want to have a child except Princess Carolyn, and even she is left on the stance. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. Am I the only PBS kid here? No, I was a PBS kid. I watched PBS. A lot of the classic ones I had issues with, like Barney, Sesame Street. I had issues with that, Mr. Rogers, but the stuff I got into was Cyber Chase, Dragon Tales, Arthur. I liked Teletubbies. I love Teletubbies. Psychology. Mr. Peanut Butter is also going to have to learn how to deal with depression because his whole life he's dealt with situations by either ignoring them or just being dismissive. Yeah, Diane kind of hit the nail on the head. She's like, you try to ignore problems, which comes off as dismissive. Do you think the fact that the first few episodes are so bad are the reason Bojack isn't as popular as a show such as Rick and Morty? No, because the first episode of Rick and Morty was horrible. Well, a lot of people like the first episode. I don't. I can't stand the first episode of Rick and Morty. Also, I would argue that they are both. Rick and Morty is more mainstream, is what it is. Um, people who don't really care about the philosophy behind Rick and Morty, they just the people who care about BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman is extremely popular. People who care about care about it because of the lessons, because of the morals and stuff like that. The storytelling is great, but people care about it because of the emotional component behind it. The people who care about Rick and Morty care about it because it's funny. It's comedy, and comedy is universal. Like, lots of people love comedy. So if you don't care about the moral stuff in BoJack Horseman, you're less likely to learn it, to care about it. What if Pickles wants to keep it, but PB doesn't want kids? This would be a big problem between the two. That's the thing I thought they were trying to avoid back in season 2 when it happened to Diane, because it didn't make sense to me that Mr. Peanut Butter wouldn't want kids. Mr. Peanut Butter constantly wants new relationships with people. So they kind of threw that in on Mr. Peanut Butter's character. They can use that now, but it still won't make sense to me that Mr. Peanut Butter just won't want kids. And people have tried to argue with me, like, kids are a lot of responsibility, and Mr. Peanut Butter doesn't want responsibility. Yeah, but Mr. Peanut Butter wouldn't understand that kids are responsibility. Just like he doesn't understand having about the responsibilities of having a girlfriend or a wife. Like, it doesn't fully process, or it shouldn't fully process. Maybe it does. For me, the show was a huge bonus to my therapy. I discovered it in 2016, 4 months after my therapy started, and I stopped being miserable and gained my responsibility right before 6th season. That's a good thing to hear. I like the first episode of Rick and Morty, but after watching the whole thing, it doesn't hold up. I hated the first episode of Rick and Morty. I was just like, oh my goodness, shut up. They wouldn't stop talking. And I know that's kind of the whole formula of Rick and Morty, but they just wouldn't shut up. Especially Rick. Rick just kept talking. Thanks for bringing up that point. I've never thought of that. Thoughts on Bojack's new haircut and Sharona? I'm glad they addressed the Sharona thing. I thought that was a very poignant thing, and it addressed Bojack's need to feel his thoughts that he can't be forgiven, because he put into practice what Hollyhock said. You need to physically ask for it. You need to take the steps to go for it before somebody else can take the steps to forgive you. You need to take the steps to want forgiveness, to ask for it before somebody can take the steps to forgive you. And I thought it added another layer to Bojack's character of how he basically sacrificed Sharona for horsing around. Might be overthinking this, but was there any significance to the scene of Pickles walking in and out of the closet during episode Surprise? Something it speaks on. Not really. No, I think she just walked in and out of the closet because she was indecisive of what Mr. Peanut Butter did to her. If Pickles gets pregnant, it would be a joke on Pickles, and Peanut Butter is what pregnant women can crave on. I'm not sure what you're trying to say in that sentence. I discovered it last year. Reboot and Buck. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. I discovered it last year, and when I watched all the way through the 4 seasons, I realized they were adding a 5th. I discovered it just before. Well, I didn't discover it. I found out about it when it first came out, but I didn't watch it until season 4 was just about to come out. I was in the middle of season 2 or 3 when season 4 came out. And I was just like, yeah, I get the next season right away. Awesome. Will you do another This Is You watching Bojack Horseman? I am thinking about it because I want to do more skits, but I'm not sure if they belong on the channel. I'm probably going to use my second channel to do them. The first video got a lot of views, but the second one didn't. And like the channel has been doing weirdly in views lately. I'm trying to gauge it to see what everybody's watching, as well as gauge myself to see what I want to make. So I kind of want to, just because I started it, and they're not hard videos to make. They're very, very easy videos. But if nobody wants to watch it, then it's like, why should I make it? Well, I've made plenty of videos that nobody wants to watch. I freaking make the miraculous videos all the time, and nobody watches them. But that's because I'm really passionate about miraculous. So I would need to be, if I get really passionate about the jokes, and the first one I was passionate, like I was passionate about those jokes in the first one. The second one I felt, kind of, with the jokes. So I will consider it. I was finna. Oh yeah, Reboot and Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. I didn't watch Bucky O'Hare, but Reboot I can still watch. I was planning on doing a video of Reboot. I've been planning a video for Reboot for the longest time because there is a scene in Reboot that I think is one of the best scenes I've seen to this day in cartoons, and I just want to analyze it. Did Erica appear this season? I didn't see her, or rather, hear her name be called by Mr. Peanut Butter. I honestly don't like this season much. It felt like it was trying way too hard to be artsy in the first few episodes with all the galaxy shots and Princess Carolyn replicas and stuff. To each their own. I disagree, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong unless you're wrong. Then I'll tell you you're wrong. What do you think the next show they make will be about? Would depression again be kind of boring? What else? I don't know what else they're gonna. I mean, me personally, I'm moving on to a Gretzko. Which has been something that's happened for a while. I love Agretzko. I honestly think I like it more than Bojack Horseman. That's debatable because this season has actually been really good in Bojack Horseman. This season might make me go back to Bojack Horseman, but freaking Agretzko has been an amazing show. So once this is over, I'll probably still do analysis on Bojack Horseman, but just as a retrospective rather than because it's popular. And I'll move on to other shows like Agretzko. Agretzko's just been an amazing experience. If you don't understand the philosophy there in Rick and Morty, you shouldn't be watching it because it's cosmic nihilism, existential nihilism, and cosmology, along with major parts of psychology. I mean, you don't need to understand cosmic nihilism to laugh. Yes, it does talk about cosmic nihilism and existential nihilism, but it's also telling jokes. So, and that's its primary focus is to make you laugh. That other stuff is background stuff. So if you just want a good laugh, then yeah. That's why I say I think I personally like Rick and Morty more because it's just trying to make me laugh, and that's just what I look for in cartoons. It's just either something that makes me laugh or something that makes me go, yeah, beat up the bad guy. I have very simple wants. But I respect BoJack Horseman more because it is objectively a better show. We had a silent episode, a monologue episode. Will this season have something like this? I think it already has. Episode 8 was about no main characters. It was about all the background characters or the side characters that we've seen before. Will you do another F is for Family video? I want to. It is on the list. I'm so behind in videos right now. I wanted to do one about, what's his name? Bill. I wanted to do an episode about Bill because Bill is slowly turning into his brother, and there's a reason for that. The great part about Rick and Morty is that Rick will constantly contradict himself. He'll say there's an infinite amount of universes, and a few dozen of those I managed to fix. Yeah, that stuff doesn't make any sense to me. Because, if Rick in a universe can fix something, why doesn't he just look and see what he did, or ask that Rick what he did, and then fix it? Take off your do-rag, please. No. Not today. No, I don't agree that Big Mouth is a good show. I don't think Big Mouth is a good show. I never said it was. I do not think Big Mouth is a good show. 13 days till some new Rick and Morty. Oh, I forgot the new season of Rick and Morty was coming out. I was so hyped with Bojack. I completely forgot about the new season of Rick and Morty. Who is Bill? What show is this? OMG, guys, please send show recommendations. This show is called F is for Family. Personally, I don't think it's as good as BoJack Horseman, but it does have social commentary, mainly about a family in the 70s. And Bill is the youngest son, who he starts out in the show as probably the most innocent character, but as the show goes on, he gets more and more behavior issues. And like I said, he's slowly becoming his brother. I forget his brother's name. His older brother. His older brother is a delinquent, and and you can see throughout the show how a person could transition from Bill to, I forget his brother's name, from Bill to his older brother because of the way their dad treats them. Shady under the do-rag revealed when. There's already a video. There are already videos of me without my do-rag. So, May I please help you with skits? I have so many great ideas. If you're talking about a collab, I'd take emails, which is in the About page, or you could DM me on Twitter. Which is weird because Johnny Milani is great and some Nick Kroll is hilarious. What do you think about that? The twin theory about Sharona turned out to be wrong. Twin theory? I never heard of that. Eric the Seahorse dude didn't even seem grateful about Bojack returning his child. No, he wasn't. He had so many of them, and he hadn't grown attached to them yet. I think it's comparable to South Park. For people who don't understand the meta, can just laugh. But if you understand it, you can enjoy it on a whole other level. You're talking about F for Family? Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin. Normally I can remember Kevin's name and I can't remember Bill's name. Today's opposite. Yo, what do you think about the final episode title, A Quick One While He's Away? I know it's referencing the Who song. Are you talking about from Bojack Horseman? Because I don't have the titles memorized. Full thoughts on Big Mouth? Personally, I don't like it because it's full of sex and swearing and whatnot, and I don't like that stuff. I'm a prude, so sex makes me very uncomfortable, which, by the way, is very different from, or I shouldn't say very different, but it's different from an asexual. I'm not asexual, I'm just a prude. I just say that with straight face. I'm just a prude. But yeah, I don't really, I get uncomfortable around any kind of sexual stuff, and the whole show is about sex. But even if I wasn't, I think Big Mouth by itself, I think it just doesn't tell a good story. I think people empathize with the emotion that goes on in the show, and so they like it because of that, which is fine. You can like whatever you want for whatever reason you want, but objectively, it doesn't tell a good story. Which I talked about with the Hormone Monster. That's one of its biggest problems. In order for the show to exist in its own universe, the Hormone Monster needs to have consistent rules, and it doesn't. So anybody who's not enticed by the empathy of the characters, they're going to be constantly taken out of the show. Can Seahorse Guy return to defend Bojack? That'll be interesting. It's a theory where Sharona has a twin with mirror tattoos. She was on the Halloween party. There are vids about it existing, and that Sharona doesn't speak to him because of something horrible. Whatever that is, no, I don't believe it. That sounds very contrived. The last episode, I don't think I liked it as much as the other ones, but the thing, there was an element in it I loved more than the other ones, and that was the two reporter characters. They're just really fun characters, especially the pig. Like their lines are written really well, and they're really performed. They're performed really well. Probably a reference to something. I don't know what though. I love crude humor, but the jokes aren't funny. I don't really like crude humor. I can laugh at crude humor, but that's not what I'm looking for. Can we talk about PC and Ralph? I want him to come back. Like I said before, Ralph, I think I wanted him to come back in season 5. I think at this point it's too late. Like I think it would just kind of not mesh well with the story. It would feel a bit forced. Those background jokes make you laugh more because it makes it scientifically hilarious a lot of the situations. Plus, you'll find a lot of jokes about cosmic nihilism than a fart joke. I mean, I suppose it can make you laugh more, but if you don't understand scientific nihilism, you can still laugh at a fart joke. Bojack Horseman is the greatest example of existential nihilism that I've ever seen in a show. The thing is, Bojack Horseman talks about existential nihilism, but it's like they're not all the episodes are centered around that. My favorite band is Who. My favorite band is The Who, and they have a song by the exact title about a girl whose husband went to war and he caught her cheating on him when he. Okay, it's something we were talking about? I feel like that's pretty random. Wait, the pig. Yeah, the pig in the final episode, or the final episode of part 1 of season 8. The southern pig who was getting married. Well, do you want to hear 2 words, darling? Well, I do. There, you've heard them. I do, I do, I do. Like, I freaking love her accent and her lines. I love how they were written and delivered. If you enjoy anime, I suggest Ergo Proxy. I fell out of anime a while ago. I would like to get back into it, but every time I try, geez, when I widen my eyes, I scare myself. But every time I try, every time I try to get back to anime, I'm like, well, I'm over it. Because I watched so much anime when I was a teenager and when I was in college. But then One Piece and Naruto ruined it for me. And then the shows, the little niche shows that I watched that were slice of life, they all got canceled. And the only thing that could have saved me was Detective Conan, but Crunchyroll didn't have the rights to the first 650 episodes. Choo-choo-choo. Because Rick is a meanie, and if he asked the other Rick what happened, he would get no answer and a lot of attitude. It's Rick, man. What's the draw of Rick and Morty? I haven't seen it. I don't know where to watch it, but I want to know if figuring out whether it's worth my time. The draw on Rick and Morty is that it is funny. It's very fast talking humor. People talk like it is, very up there. I don't want to insult anybody, but I don't agree with that. I don't think it's like highbrow humor. I think it's just funny on its own. I think it can be funnier if you have highbrow knowledge of the situation, but I think it's just, it's mainly just funny. It tells the adventures of an old guy who drinks too much and a young boy who worries too much. And I didn't even like it that much until season 2. It's the ridiculousness of the situation that generally makes it funny. Oh, you want to save this sentient talking cloud from prison, and we have to escape the entire galaxy space police just because you want to save him. I recommend it for people, but for example, if you like BoJack Horseman, I wouldn't recommend it. No, I wouldn't recommend it just because you like BoJack Horseman. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you like BoJack Horseman, you won't like Rick and Morty. No, what I'm saying is just because you like BoJack Horseman doesn't mean you'll like it. I think it's more prone to those who like the mainstream adult stuff, like Family Guy. It's more humor centered, humor focused. That's the point of it, to make you laugh. The other stuff that happens, like character and morals and whatnot, that's all background stuff. I think the show is much funnier for people who remember back when there was no cell phones or internet. Oh, F is for Family? That's what you're talking about? F is for Family swears a lot, and like I said, I don't like swear words, so it makes me very uncomfortable. When I first started watching F is for Family, the first scene is just Frank swearing and screaming into a phone. I was like, I had to watch it for review purposes. So I was like, oh, I gotta sit through this. Jeez, it does make you think, though. There are life lessons to learn. But there's a lot of swearing. There's even some nudity in it, too. It totally is funnier if you have some knowledge, but yeah, it's also funny without any knowledge. The Cloud, however, it's called fart. Don't tell me you can't find it funny if you are tough. Shady, you ever watch Star Trek? I'm 7 seasons into The Next Generation. I find myself laughing a bunch. It's weird to pin what I like. I watched The Next Generation and Voyager. My dad was a huge fan of Deep Space Nine. He kept saying that was like the best crew, but he said the Next Generation was the best series, but the best crew was in Deep Space Nine. I saw Next Generation. I saw Voyager. They were both amazing. So the one I saw that was just okay was Enterprise. I'm right there with him, and sex scenes in movies make me so uncomfortable. Why would I want to pay to watch two people do that? Perhaps the seahorse guy can return if they add Bojack underwater in the intro. I mean, Bojack is underwater in every intro. Have you ever watched the creator of Bojack Horseman's new show, Undone? No, I have not. I got a lot of unpacking to do. So I don't really have time I'm not going to have time for shows in the next coming weeks. And then after that, I have to make videos to catch up. Try not to become irrelevant. We YouTubers are fads. We are trends. We fade out. I'm trying so hard. 3 hours, Shady. Oh, I've been streaming for 3 hours? Ooh. Well, back when I used to do drawing streams, I used to go long for that. I used to stream for like 5-7 hours. So that ladybug, pretty crazy. What ladybug? Are you you talking about Miraculous? You trying to get me to switch the subject to Miraculous? Because I'm still behind on Miraculous because I can't freaking watch the episodes until I've given my freaking reaction to them. Which, yeah, the Ladybug reaction video, I recorded that weeks ago. I just haven't got a chance to edit it because I just unpacked my editing stuff. Like I have an external that I keep all my PNGs and stuff on. So what about the planetarium and the new intro? That's probably going to come into play, but it like I said, Sarah Lynn is the most important aspect in Bojack. So just constantly reminding the viewer of where she died. Yeah, that's good enough for it to be in the intro for the final season. Do you think the Big Mouth spinoff will be better than the original? More I didn't know there was a Big Mouth spinoff. But a lot of people want me to keep talking about Big Mouth, and I'm just like, look, I watched the first season. I have one more Big Mouth video planned. But jeez, I don't like Big Mouth. That's just the thing. I just flat out don't like. It's not for me. Like even if it had really good writing, I don't like sexual situations and I don't like swearing in it. It's all about sexual situations. Shady, you as a blogger can relate to Pickle's relationship and attitude towards her followers. I can understand it. My relationship with my followers is that I understand that I am a person who you guys find something attractive about, whether it be my ideas, whether it just be how I look, you find something attractive about me, and you're deciding to indulge me in that. It doesn't make you my friends or my family or whatever. It doesn't mean we can't like become friends later. Like I've become friends with some YouTubers I know, but you have to realize that your fan base is a certain distance. You have to respect your fan base. You have to appreciate them because they make you who you are. Pickles, I think, was too close to her fan base. The fact that she says they are her. And they're like, when I did this one person was the first person to say this. What she's not realizing is that those are people coming and going. Yes, the pickle pack is always there, but the pickle pack is consistent of people whose interests are constantly shifting. And that's what I said earlier. I'm a YouTuber. I was joking, but it's true. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a fad. We fade. And so, we just got to try to stay relevant, try to stay important to our audience, which is why when I'm making videos, I do always consider what you guys want to see. I want to make what I want to make, but I also consider what you guys want to see. And sometimes if you guys really want to see something, but I don't want to make it, I'll swallow my pride and I'll make it because you guys want to talk about it. That's part of having an audience. It's give and take. So I would say I understand Pickle's mentality with her audience, especially since we saw her like if you go back and you watch the episode when her first videos didn't have that many views, her audience grew. So she's been with her audience for a while. But I understand it, but I don't have the exact same relationship with my audience. My audience, to me, it kind of feels like, I say this all the time. Some people are probably getting tired of me saying it, but I treat this like a huge book club, and I'm just hosting it. And, I'm just the guy with the microphone, but I'm still pointing out people like, hey, what do you have to say about this? Hey, what do you have to say about that? And it's whatnot. I appreciate my audience, but I think I keep my audience at a farther distance than Pickles does. Yeah, but Big Mouth's about hormones and sexual education experience. It's supposed to be the way it is. Yeah, I'm not saying that makes it bad. What makes it bad is that it's not consistent with its storytelling. That's what makes it bad. What makes it unattractive to me personally is that it's about sex and stuff. I don't like that kind of atmosphere. It makes me uncomfortable, I should say. Watching Love, Death, and Robots, I was so uncomfortable with watching a lot of that stuff. Because it's like, oh, hey, watch these two characters have sex. And I'm like, okay, I hope nobody walks in on me, even though I'm just sitting in my office watching this. I'm like, I hope nobody walks in on me. And like I said, like any slight thing like that, and it's not because I'm asexual, it's not like it disgusts me or anything. It's just that it makes me feel like I'm constantly doing something naughty. That's the thing. What is our fan name? I like to think of you guys as intellectuals. The doo-doo pack. No. I like to think of you guys as intellectuals. Anime is such is so much better than it was when we were in high school. I avoided Naruto and shows like that because they don't paint the right picture. You need to watch things that are more underground. I mean, Naruto is a great anime. It was. It was just so inconsistent. And then when it got to the Great Ninja War, the filler just, I hated the filler. Annoyed me. Same thing with One Piece. One Piece, the filler is what got me. I couldn't stand the filler. Wow, you're so hot when you trash Big Mouth. Yeah, I need to turn this AC on. I think this comment got lost, but isn't Miraculous a kid show? What is it? What is it about? I love your videos and your takes on things, and know you make a lot of videos on it, so I definitely watch it if it's worth the watch. I would not recommend Miraculous. That's the thing. Okay, first of all, my tastes are Saturday morning cartoons. So the stuff that I tend to review on this channel is mainly by popular demand. People want me to watch that stuff because they think I'll have a good take on it, because I've shown in the past that I have decent takes on Bojack Horseman. So stuff like Big Mouth, stuff like Tuca and Birdie, stuff like that. Generally, I'm watching because my audience decides. It's not that I'm scrolling through Netflix and I say, "Oh, that looks like a show I'll watch." I don't think my tastes are the same as my audience tastes. So when it comes to Miraculous, that is definitely a kid show, and I like it. Well, I don't. Okay, hold on. That is definitely a kid show. I prefer Saturday morning kid shows, but even still, I mainly stick with Miraculous, not because I think it's good. Because season one, I definitely didn't think it was good. Like, I did that hour review of season one. It's on the channel. Um, I don't think it's the first video on the main page. I don't think it's good. Is it the first video? No, I switched that to Sarah Lynn, I think. Anyway, I don't think Miraculous is good. I think the second season is getting better, but I don't think it's overall like good. But it's superheroes, and it's got such a unique, interesting premise when it comes to the superhero genre that I have fallen in love with it, despite the fact that I constantly acknowledge its flaws. Like, if you've ever seen my Miraculous videos, I'll go on there and I'll say, "Oh, they're doing this cliche again that I keep telling them not to do. Oh, they keep treating this character like this that I tell them not to do." You know, I'm constantly complaining when I talk about Miraculous. It's not a show I recommend to people. It's just a show I like talking about because it's talking about the superhero genre, and I love superheroes. So, and the Miraculous fans who do watch those videos, they say they get a kick out of them. So I'm like, I'm still talking to people, even though it's not a big audience. So I still have reasons to make those videos. Bojack is more grounded and focused on reality, where Rick and Morty is definitely focused on absurdism. Which, yeah, I prefer something that's a bit more out there. Dude, watch the Plague of Greg's video on Naruto. I probably have seen it. Is it Naruto the Self-Made Hypocrite? I've seen that one. I agree with a lot of what's said. Shady, what do you think of the second half of season 6 of Bojack is going to happen? What do you think the future of Hollyhock and Bojack's relationship entails? What do you think Charlotte will do? I think it's all going to come spiraling down. I think Bojack is going to get Me Too'd, and that's going to hit him like a ton of bricks, and it's mainly going to affect all those around him, the main cast and Hollyhock. Pretty much everyone around him is going to suffer because of what Bojack did a long time ago. And Bojack's going to have to, with this new mentality of trying to improve himself, stick his ground and believe that he doesn't deserve to be miserable. Meanwhile, the other characters are going to become more and more miserable and kind of in a state that Bojack was in, and try to build themselves out of it. Miraculous is bad when it comes to pandering to the audience. Yes, that's the thing. One of the big things about Miraculous, this is like the big thing of the show. They show you this in the first episode. The title character, Marinette, she's in love with this boy named Adrian, who is the male lead. The male lead, as a superhero, is in love with her superhero identity. Now, so many plot problems happen because of this, but they won't get rid of this thing. Like, they won't reveal their secret identities because it's shit baiting. The whole show is shit baiting. Shady, do you think Bojack will kill himself? I seriously hope not, and if not, why? I just read that sentence without even thinking about it, and I did not censor myself. I hope I don't get demonetized. I think it's possible. Juju, whoa, what a great theory. I like it. What theory? Did I say a theory? I wasn't paying attention. I just said what I think will happen in season 8. Okay. I was like, wait, did I say a theory? Charlotte said she'd kill Bojack if he ever comes near her family again. I think she will ruin him. I think she will kill his career. I don't think she will physically kill him. But it's always hard when it comes to actually ending the show. There's a lot of meaning in it. Look at the MCU. I mean, to me, the MCU is over. I know it's still going, but Endgame was where I wanted. And with Endgame, a lot of people, everybody has come up. A lot of people have come up with criticism for Endgame. Like a lot of people are saying Infinity War is better. Thoughts on the canceling Tuca and Birdie? I felt like the show had the potential to be more lighthearted show that tackles more complicated topics. Okay, so fair warning: the Tuca and Birdie community doesn't like me. The Tuca and Birdie community doesn't like me. I made a video about Tuca and Birdie, and they did not like what I had to say in that video. I have since gone back and rewatched that video multiple times, and I still stand by what I say in that video. And nobody who criticizes me, almost nobody who criticizes me, I shouldn't say nobody, almost nobody who criticizes me in the comment section criticizes what I say. Like, they project what I say. I just want to give a fair warning with that when it comes to Tuca and Birdie. Because I know, like, I get a lot of people who come in here. It's like, I was a fan of you until I saw your Tuca and Birdie video, and then I'm like, why? And I don't get a clear explanation. Tuca and Birdie, I thought was a quality show. I thought it had quality writing. I thought it had quality characters. I thought it had beyond quality animation. Like, the animation to me was the best thing about it. It was canceled, but I understand why. Even though I think it was canceled, I think it's niche. I think a lot of people who really like Tuca and Birdie are projecting their like of it onto what other people should be feeling. And I'm like, it's niche. One of the big problems I have with Tuca and Birdie is that it'll take a topic that can be neutral to some, and it'll act like its stance on that topic is the moral one, and people get chased away by stuff like that. My whole Tuca and Birdie video, in that video, I was trying to say that if it wants to go further and be as impactful as Bojack Horseman is, then what it needs to do is consider all sides. But because of the subject matter I was talking about, a lot of people are like, no, it shouldn't consider all sides. This is absolutely wrong, and it's good that it teaches the moral lesson that it is wrong. And I'm like, story-wise, yeah, if that's your story, then just say it's right or wrong. But if you want to have a conversation, then you gotta show all sides of the conversation. And that's the thing. I think Tuca and Birdie is the entire show was niche. Some people say that it didn't have proper advertising, which I don't have any evidence to support or to deflect that, so maybe that's true. But to me, when I was watching, I didn't like Tuca and Birdie. I appreciated it. I thought it was good, but I didn't like it. And I even said when I was watching it, I can't relate to the character Birdie because of her identity as a female. And I specifically use those words. I said her identity as a female. And everybody got mad at me and said, what, you can't relate to females? I'm like, no, I said I can't relate to this one's identity as a female. That's very different than saying I can't relate to females. Tuca and Birdie talks about a lot of quote-unquote woke topics. And because of that, a lot of people who like it, they believe it is important to get out there. And that's fine, you know. You have a moral you think is important, you want to get out there, that's fine. But not everybody is going to agree with you on that. So when you insist that your moral is the right way to go, and you only show your side of the perspective, the people who disagree with you, which might be the majority, are not going to want to watch it. That's what I think Tuca and Birdie's biggest problem was that it was indulging people it knew was going to agree with it, rather than bringing in people who might have a different take. You watch Bojack Horseman, it brings in so many different perspectives. People keep telling me I'm not allowed to compare it to Bojack Horseman, but I'm going to do it. It brings in so many different perspectives, and the reason someone like me, who doesn't relate to the characters at all, can still watch Bojack Horseman is because it tells a good story, a compelling story, and even if and when it tries to teach a moral, it tells so many different perspectives of that moral. So I get to see all the sides, even if I disagree with it. So, you know, I try not to harbor like any malice when it comes to Tuca and Birdie, because the fan base really laid it into me when I made that video. Like even people who like they were originally my fans, they had never heard of Tuka and Birdie. They went watched my video, then watched it, then came back and was like, "What are you talking about, Shady?" And but they really laid it into me. But like I said, I went back and I've rewatched the video multiple times. I'm like, the thing that people are accusing me of, I didn't say in the video, and everything I say in the video, it still seems valid to me. While I don't think Tuka and Birdie deserved on a talent base wise to be canceled, because I think it had a lot of talent behind it, I understand why. It feels like it was niche, and when people said, and rather than saying, and rather than going about the atmosphere of, hey, maybe you might like this thing, it rather goes about the atmosphere of, everyone who likes this thing is great, and everybody who doesn't sucks. That's how it felt to a lot of people. I hope I'm presenting this right. So that's why I think it kind of got canceled. You know, there are other factors, like I said, the animation, I didn't say this, but the animation with Netflix is very wonky. Netflix lost so much money this year. They were, like, normally Netflix approves stuff left and right, but once they lost that, they just lost a lot of a lot of things got canceled. Tuka and Birdie was just one of the loud ones that got canceled. And like I said, some people said that it didn't get as much advertisement as it should have, which is possible. I don't know. By the way, exactly what Bojack makes fun of. You say you can't identify with Birdie's identity as female, and then people scream, "Whoa, you don't identify with females?" No, that's not. No, that's not what you said. Well, wait, you didn't put it in quotes, so and then people scream, "Whoa, you don't identify with females." No, that's not. Yeah, that's not what I said. I never said I could. There are plenty of man. One of the biggest things with that, I try not to go back and talk about this. Like I try to move on from it, but I do still get notifications about that Toucan Birdie video, and I just try to let people, just say their piece and not try to scream down at them. But one comment that I got a couple times was people saying, "Oh, you finally had to review a show about a female, and you're saying you can't relate to her." I'm like, the longest running series on the channel is Miraculous. That's about a female. Before anybody showed up on this channel, I was talking about My Little Pony. That was nothing but females, and I talked about how much I love the character Sunset Shimmer. One of my favorite characters of all time. My favorite Disney character of all time is Princess Vanellope von Schweetz. That's a female. Anyway, that's a tangent. Getting back for the. No, it wasn't that you needed to quote. It was just that you didn't put quotes, so I didn't know if you were telling me that or you were saying they were saying this. It's hilarious. Even a small channel like yours, you can see the truth in the particular social commentary. I mean, the fact that if you say anything slightly out of line with something, you easily get targeted by certain people. That's what makes it come out. Your Two Get Birdie video encouraged me to consider, both sides of the story, the thing you addressed in the video. I mean, that's my channel has always been about everyone's perspective. I've said this so many times, getting everyone's perspective. The Two Get Birdie video just perplexed me because I was like, hey, I even get the perspective of people who I don't agree with. And everybody in that comment section really got mad at me. Wait. Are you a brony? I am no longer a brony. In fact, a lot of times I didn't consider myself a brony because I liked elements of My Little Pony. Like I liked the songs, I liked the characters. I didn't like the show as a whole. But I would still probably say I was a brony because the spin-off movie series, Equestria Girls, I loved. I freaking loved that. Like I said, Sunset Shimmer was one of my favorite characters of all time. But after I think it was season 6, I stopped watching. I just didn't care anymore. Same with Equestria Girls. I tried to watch Roller Coaster Friendship, and I was just bored. If Bojack does die in the end, will it leave a sour taste in your mouth and leave a shadow on the show that may remove it from being seen at all times as a great show? If they do it properly, there are ways that Bojack could die. They do it properly, it'll be very poetic, and it'll be very respectful to how the show has gone. It just needs to be earned. That's all that has to happen. I was quoting what you literally just said. Yeah, it was just how I was reading it. Real talk, Shady. What would you personally prefer the ending for BoJack be? Tragic, happy, hopeful, bittersweet. I would just real talk. I would prefer it to be earned. If they give me a happy ending and it's not earned, I'm gonna be ticked. I would say of all the, if you add earned to all those, I think a earned hopeful ending is probably what I want most. But that could easily change. That could easily change. Does being animated make people judge it differently? If a live action HBO show ends with a death, nobody bats an eye, but an animated Netflix show might seem too heavy. Animation in itself for a long time was family oriented. I mean, we've recently got out of that with anime and all that. Anime is not for freaking kids. Did you ever get an answer from Chef Shiny Productions about your Elsa videos? Yes, he did. He responded on the video. I have since realized that I'm not satisfied with his response, but it's not something I'm like gonna pursue him on. Because he's like, yeah, I still disagree, and I'm like, dude, I pointed out facts in the movie that you didn't address. What do you mean you still disagree? But I just mainly wanted to get the point out there that he was missing a lot. Like that was the first video in a while that I was genuinely passionately working on. And I just stopped what I was doing and I got that video in like less than a week when I started working on it. So I was just so ticked off of what I had seen. You've earned my subscription. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. What if Bojack died Hamilton style? His dad died in a duel, so he does too, but a metaphorical duel. I don't think that would be poetic enough. Bojack wasn't like his dad. That's the problem. I mean, what would be probably more poetic would be if Bojack started dealing with dementia. That would probably be more poetic because he had more of a connection with his mother than he did his father. What's his response? A private chat. I have a feeling I never saw a video about it from him. It's a pinned chat on the video. If you go to the video defending Elsa, the first comment should be his comment. Like I said, it's not. I don't think it's a very good response, but it's not something I'm going to like pursue. Because he basically just says, "I agree to disagree," and when I'm pointing out facts that you've missed in a video in a movie you're analyzing, I don't think we agree to disagree is a proper response. Gotta go. Hope transition to your new place goes well. Keep making great stuff, man. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get some more stuff out now that the internet has properly been set up and my computer is set up. I'm gonna try to get some videos done. I got a lot to get done. Like I said, I got 2 collabs in the works, and I really want to get that freaking Agretzko video out. But we'll see, because I probably should just focus on unpacking everything and then start working on videos. Yeah, something like that, where maybe it dies publicly, defending Hollyhock or another character. What if Bojack is gay in the end? So the most stupid theory, no. No. That would ruin the show for me if he just suddenly turned gay, because it would come out of nowhere. Like I said, everything has to be earned. Mockingjay has a question, everyone. Also, I know you do more cartoon stuff, but have you seen Joker? Thoughts? Yes! If I had Joker as a DVD, I would immediately begin working on a video about Joker. Man! Like, as soon as I saw Joker, I was like, I need to make videos on this. But I wanted to do it with clips. That's the thing. So I didn't want to just talk about it. I wanted to show you guys what I was talking about. I have seen Joker. It is really good. I agree with all the critics out there. Well, it's not critics, it's audiences, but I agree with all the audiences out there who are saying that it's extremely good. It's a great movie. It's a great film. Would you be interested in free stills? Yes. Feel free to send me emails. It's in my communications on the about page, or you can DM me on Twitter. Anything involving projects or anything involving projects and the whatnot, you can DM me on Twitter or send me an email. I have my email is on the about page. But I'm absolutely. I say this because back before, people asked me if I was interested in like PNGs and stuff, and I said no because I wanted to do everything myself. And I was watching Just a Robot, and his fans made such cool stuff, and I'm like, I'm a huge fan of fan art. Why would I say no to fan stuff? Like I used to host fan art contests, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was so dumb. So when somebody's like, hey Shady, would you like some of this fan stuff? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I mean, that would be quite delightful, thank you. My outro song, the new one, is actually a fan outro video. I posted it in a video. I think I posted on Twitter before. I made the original one, and then a person remixed it. And he gave me permission to use his remix, so I use it in the videos. Did you do no spoilers? But they are jokes you'll appreciate after you've seen. Yeah. Joker sounds amazing. It seems like a psychological puzzle. Hey guys, where are you from? Where are Shady fans from? Southeast Asia. Wow. It always blows my mind whenever somebody says something outside of America. Like my analytics tell me, hey, you've got people from outside of America watching your stuff. And me being a dumb American is just like, there are places outside of America? Narcissism at its finest. Got some German people here. Hello, everyone. So you like Joker? So you like Joker hopes for the Harley film? I mean, a Harley film would be nice if they do it in a similar Joker style, but it would have to separate itself enough from Joker to be good. Oh, okay, Mr. Absurd. Hey Shay, do you know how many inches a meter has? There's there's unfortunately a lot of young ethnists that completely don't understand what ethnicity is. That is about equality, not about misandry, not about man. I mean, here's the thing. All right, I think we've officially moved on from the BoJack Horseman topic, so I think we can talk about stuff like this. It's like that kind of stuff I've been following for a long time. As some people point out, I follow Just a Robot, and all of it, most of his early content was about talking against that stuff. And I've been a fan of his since before his original channel had 5,000 subscribers. So that kind of stuff. If you see my videos, I talk about all the time taking personal responsibility for yourself. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that goes on in the culture war today, I feel like a lot of that stuff talks against taking responsibility for yourself and talks about blaming somebody else for the situation you're in. And I say, sometimes it is going to be somebody else's fault, sometimes. But when you live your life thinking it's somebody else's fault where I am, how will you ever get out of that situation? And their solution is destroy that person. And to me, as somebody who doesn't agree that they're in that situation because of somebody else, it's like that. If you're wrong, you're now destroying someone because of yourself rather than building yourself up. So, anyway, that's getting into politics. Way off topic, but this just came to my mind. Will you ever do South Park videos? Probably not. I don't watch South Park. I'm begging you watch Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars if you like Saturday morning cartoons. You will love the show. It's pretty old though. Like my Saturday morning cartoon love comes from the '90s and the late '90s and the 2000s. Like I'm a millennial, you know. So that's why I can watch Troll Hunter. Jeez. I know what Bucky O'Hare is. It's just one series I did like though. Ironically, was Sonic Underground. Like I freaking loved Sonic Underground. Sonic Underground is a horrible show, by the way. I liked it ironically, like I said. I see Bojack doing a Dexter ending, him just going away to nowhere and living alone. Like when he said he'd go to Maine. Well, that's what I said. He said he would end it in a specific way, and that was swimming out into the lake, being too tired to swim back, and just letting himself go. Thoughts on Ben 10? I love the original Ben 10. Ben 10 Alien Force had promise, and then they ruined it. After that, I stopped following it, and when that freaking chibi version came out, I absolutely hated it. I was with the OG Ben 10, though. It started when an alien device did what it did. It stuck itself upon his wrist with secrets that it hid. Now he's got superpowers, he's no ordinary kid, he's Ben 10. Yeah, you know somebody watched the show a lot when they got the theme song memorized. The original theme song, too, not the one that skipped parts. Bojack season 6, second half, Todd turns evil, kills everyone with Diane gets killed in the classroom. Peter Parker who is suddenly back when Bojack goes back to the wall. Sorry to bring it back to Bojack. I mean, it's fine. We're just at this point we're just talking. I could probably get rid of the Bojack background. At this point we're just talking about stuff. But did you already talk about your thoughts on why Kelsey Jennings was brought back? Kelsey Jennings was brought back for the same reason everyone else was brought back, because they're gathering up all the stuff that Bojack did wrong but was never held accountable for, and it's all going to come out in the second half of the season. Kelsey Jennings is now big enough to where if she comes out and says Bojack did such and such or whatnot, Bojack will feel it. They also use Kelsey to talk about their whole woke mentality, which I did a huge rant on. So there's that. Instead of using Diane to do it, which Diane did have some woke moments, but he mentioned in Maine when he was trying to write a memoir with Sarah Lynn Todd. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That might actually happen. Also, I'm calling it. I think something's going to happen to that white whale. Watch a story where he drowns himself in Maine. Yeah, that's what I was saying. But he went to the old family house, and the Firefly tried to kill them both, and Bojack returned to Hollywood because Bojack still has hope. He doesn't just want to let it go if there is still hope that he can be happy. You know, he wasn't ready to go when what's that dude's name? I can't remember. When the Dragonfly tried to end it for him. White Whale was totally not Disney. Totally not. No. And those characters totally were not in Disney style either. What do you think of shows like F is for Family, Tuca and Birdie, Bojack, etc. need to do in the future? Keep in mind. First of all, always prioritize what needs to be prioritized in stories, which is not the moral. The moral of the story, yes, you need to consider it. It does not need to be prioritized. This is the problem with a lot of woke media. They prioritize the moral, and they think because they have a good moral, everybody else should love it. And then people don't love it because the characters in the story are not that good. You know, there's good woke stuff out there. Bojack is woke, and it's good entertainment. Steven Universe is woke, and it's good entertainment. There's good woke stuff out there. Just make sure you're prioritizing the characters and the characters in the story. Unless you're going to be like Rick and Morty, in which case prioritize the jokes, but still consider the story. Like that's why Rick and Morty gets away with stuff, because the jokes are funny, but there's still a decent story. And there are different types of stories. Like you don't have to make this long, drawn-out story like Bojack Horseman and Tuca and Birdie do, and like F is for Family do. You can just have short one-off stories like Futurama did. It's fine, but it still needs to be a good story, and good relatively speaking. There are different types of good stories. It's when you start doing stuff that is specifically bad for storytelling, but you think maybe something else justifies it, that you start losing people. Geez, I dropped a decent amount of frames while recording this. I thought Steven Universe was an amazing show that went downhill due to many things. Your thoughts, opinions on that show? I haven't seen all of it. I tried to, when Steven Universe came out, I was not into cartoons at the time. I had fell out of cartoons, and because Steven Universe came out in 2010, and it was a very bad time for cartoons. And then people were like, "Oh, it's amazing! It's actually a really good show." Blah blah blah. And I tried to watch it, but Teen Titans Go was on all the time. So it was like they would have a little marathon of Steven Universe. It would be Teen Titans Go, Steven Universe, Teen Titans Go, Clarence, Teen Titans Go, Gumball, Teen Titans Go, maybe Weird Bear Bears if we feel like it. More Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go was on so much, I just got freaking sick and tired of it. Like, it's become a very big cliche to hate Teen Titans Go to the point that like nobody does it anymore. But what the people who just now joined the conversation, like Doug Walker, failed to understand was that people gave Teen Titans Go a chance. It was constantly thrown at people. Constantly. People are like, well, if you don't like Teen Titans Go, why do you watch it? I freaking don't. I put on Cartoon Network and it's on. And it's like, oh, I'm just waiting for Steven Universe to come on, so I'll just leave the TV on. And it's playing freaking Teen Titans Go. Did you like Disenchantment 2? I liked it. Yeah, I liked it more than Part 1, but I don't think it did what it was supposed to do, which was continue the story from where Part 1 left off. It just did that in the first, 2 episodes, and then just pretended like everything was hunky-dory from then on out. See, I only saw, when I stopped watching Steven, I started and stopped in the same season. I got a couple of tidbits from season 1, but I think the main big thing that happened when I started watching was Steven found out that Garnet was a fusion. That's the main big thing that happened when I started. When I stopped, the main big thing was let me see. The latest episode I remember was when Steven was floating in space. No, because that was the very next episode. I don't remember. I really don't remember. Opinions on Cartoon Network shows: Teen Titans, Clarence, Steven Universe, We Bare Bears. All those are still shows? I didn't know Clarence was still going. I thought it ended. Steven Universe ended. Is We Bare Bears still going? There's newer shows now, and I wasn't even caught up with the older shows. I will admit I am curious about that Teen Titans Go crossover with Teen Titans. Because this thing is, I never hated Teen Titans Go. Well, I did when I first saw the premise, because I was, like everybody else, I was expecting a sequel to Teen Titans. But when I saw it was a parody, I was like, okay, fine, because I love superhero parodies. Like I said, I love superhero stuff. I watched it, and I was like, this is funny, I laughed at the jokes. I was fine with it. It's just that it was on so much, and then it influenced other cartoons like freaking Powerpuff Girls, and how everybody just loved Thundercats Roar when it was announced. I was like, this is not that good of a show. It's on all the time, and it's influencing other cartoons in a negative way. There's too much Teen Titans Go. Clarence, I tried to like, because there's one episode I really loved. It had a little girl named Bella. She was so adorable. Also, based on what you saw, how did you feel about Steven Universe? I felt it was a very quality show. Although somebody brought out that the fight scenes could have been much better, and I agree with them, because the fight scenes in Steven Universe are too flat. A fight scene. This person said this, and I'm stealing their words. A fight scene is as good as its environment. The really good fight scenes are fight scenes where they throw people in environments and they use the environments to their advantage. Steven Universe doesn't do that. They usually have really flat fight scenes with the characters just throwing punches and powers at each other. If you want to see a really good DC movie, you need to watch the animated ones like Assault on Arkham, Under the Red Hood. I watched Under the Red Hood. Those ones are amazing. Their animation department blows things away. Yeah, for a while it was DC Animation, Marvel Cinema. All right, you peoples, I really need to get something to eat, and I've also got other things I got to do today, so I think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you guys for sticking with me. This has been quite a journey. I was very concerned because of the whole microphone fiasco. But we have now talked about season 5, part 1 of Bojack Horseman. Thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you guys all for sticking around. And I'll try to see if I can get some regular content coming back. But it's just gonna have to wait till I get everything settled. And hopefully I can find my microphone. Hopefully. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I was kind of shocked that maybe I was already yesterday's Duckies, but a lot of people. So I think this was the most popular live stream I've ever had. I think I got to recheck the analytics, but I will see you guys next time in something. I don't know. Don't cancel me. This has been Shady Durax. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Where are my shades?